Their work will be remembered as one of the greatest moments of this planet.
Mr. Scout. I know you're still weighing whether to return to Lumen. But the mark I've come to know is happy.
Hello, is anyone there? Is the board on? It's Marquez from Macro...
What you all did was one of the most painful moments in the history of this company.
What the hell?
But the four of you have become known as the face of Severance reform.
Okay, so we're not in trouble?
I don't think so. Milchick said we're famous.
All of us equally, or one of us is like the star?
Now if you feel that you can't go on.
So what the hell did you guys see up there?
It's not our world up there.
And your life is filled with much confusion.
My Outie's wife died a few years ago. Except the woman is Miss Casey.
So what are you gonna do?
I gotta get her out of here.
Mark, your Innie said she's alive.
This is obscene.
I just want to be sure.
And your world around is closing.
Why did you do this? What is this all about?
Do you know something about Gemma?
Mark, there'll be no honeymoon ending for you.
Their work will be remembered as one of the greatest moments of this planet.
You don't value them. You fear them. We fear no one.
I'm tightening the leash.
If we let this happen to Miss Casey, who's gonna step up when it happens to us?
Now. Goodbye, Marquez.
Wait!
My name is Miss Huang. It's my first day here as deputy manager. Mark W.
Why are you a child?
Because of when I was born.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Welcome one, welcome all to a very special edition of the Severance Hour here on Sevi Friday, as we dive into a topic that we thought would be a little bit fun to dive into, considering there has been a lot of discussion, especially after this finale. Who is the best? Is it the Innies? Is it the Outies? Who would win? Who would lose? I feel like we have a lot to discuss when it comes to Innie versus Outie, and it'll be interesting to see where the chat lines up on all of this as well. Who do you guys like a little bit more? Who do you guys think would win between Innie versus Outie? This should be a fun one. I think this is a very fun idea. Of course, another great idea from our awesome co-host, PM Philosophy. And I'm looking forward to this one. This is one of the streams I've been looking forward to all week because I really want to see what you guys think in the chat. Who do you think would win, Innie versus Outie? And then maybe who do you like more, Innie versus Outie? There's a lot of discussion to be had here with this kind of topic, especially considering how Severance is kind of laid out. But welcome one, welcome all, welcome PM, and are you ready to dive into Innie versus Outie? Who is going to win? Who is going to be the victor in the long run?
I am so ready. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We all kind of need a break from the insanity that the finale was. So we'll talk about the finale too. But first, let's, kind of have some fun with Innie versus Outie.
Innie versus Outie. Absolutely. Let's have some fun. Let's have some fun, right? Why not? That's what these shows are for. That's what these streams are supposed to be for. Let's have some fun. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the finale. It seems like most people really did enjoy the finale. So that is absolutely awesome. We got Samuel saying Mark S is way better. The finale was way better than last season. Burn the place to the ground. Irving emoji. Yes, Samuel. Yes, indeed. It was a very interesting finale. It was a very, very interesting finale. And after learning a little bit more context for some few things, after hearing from Ben Stiller, Dan Erickson, some of the cast and crew, I feel like I'm even seeing the finale in a little bit of a different light now in terms of some decisions that they almost didn't make, some decisions that they did decide to go and make, and we'll definitely talk about those as well. But first and foremost, how did you pick this Mr. Kitty song, Jeremy? Yes, for the intro. Now, when it comes to intros, I always try to find a song that just, I don't know, maybe I just feel that will fit the tone of whatever show we're covering at the time. And it was coming up and Severance was coming up, and I had seen this wonderful edit of this Mr. Kitty song, and I'm sure plenty of people have seen it. It's on YouTube. It's got like millions and millions of views. It's a super popular video. It's an edit of the movie Career Opportunities, starring Jennifer Connelly. And it's this, I always loved that movie as a kid, just seeing them roller skate through this department store, this stuck in this Target overnight where they can't leave. They're stuck in there, just them two, and they slowly end up falling for each other. It's one of John Hughes's more underrated films, but I think it's a good one. And there's a really good edit going around on YouTube. It's been around for years, where it's that Mr. Kitty song set to a really nice edit of some of the best scenes from Career Opportunities. And I had seen that video so many times. It's such an awesome video. I love that video. I love the song. And I thought, wait a minute, this song will go super well with a Severance intro that I'm trying to make. So that's how we came up with the Mr. Kitty intro for Severance. It was something I thought would fit, and something that I had seen many times on the Career Opportunities edit. But I'm glad you like it. Glad you guys like it. I love making these intros, and I'm still in the works of making a Gemma and Mark focused intro. This one is more Mark and Helly focused, but there is a Mark and Gemma one in the mix as well, and hopefully I can get that one premiered next week. But glad you guys like it.
Gemma's getting like the short end of the I don't know your guys's phrases, you guys. The American language phrases, but
the short end of the stick. Yeah.
Okay.
Short end of the stick.
So all the time. She doesn't get an edit, and also she was left outside of the door. So it's not fair, Jeremy.
It's not fair. It is not fair. I mean, poor Gemma does end up holding, she ends up getting left holding the bag, as it were. And yeah, she does get the short end of the stick a lot of the times in the series. Everything that Gemma has gone through, you think about all the suffering that a lot of these characters have been through. Nobody suffered more than Gemma, I feel. I feel like she suffered more than any other character on the show. And yeah, at the very least, she deserves her own Ice and Fire intro, and I am definitely going to get that made for sure. For sure. But yes, welcome one in, of course. We have many Innies and Outies where Gemma is concerned. And of course, I'm sure we'll be talking about all of them as well as we get through the Innie versus Outie showdown. But again, welcome one, welcome all. I hope everybody has had a chance to see the finale once or maybe twice even by now to dive into it a little bit more. And let's see what we got here, shall we? Who is in the phenomenal chat this Friday evening? I know it's not our usual night, but I appreciate everybody for coming and joining us nonetheless. You guys are always absolutely epic. We got the Rogue Prince in the house. Can't wait for this one. Yes, indeed. Cannot wait for this one. This is going to be fun. I think this is going to be a very fun discussion for sure. We got Ghost MKC. It's the Innies for me, down to the slave messiahs. I'm glad Marcus is happy living the life that he can choose to live, since it's over in most other ways. It's a really interesting ending, how this kind of season comes to an end. And one thing I really did enjoy, I think a lot of us knew it was going to come to a point where Mark or one of the Marks were going to have to choose. They're always going to have to choose between Gemma and Helly. I think a lot of us knew that choice was coming. The question is, how are they going to present that choice to us as the audience? How is that going to be resolved on the show? We knew the choice, the question was coming, but how are they going to play that out? And I feel like they played it out in a very interesting way, and probably the best way they could have. And I'm super glad that it was Innie Mark in the long run that was left to make that choice. Because had it been Outie Mark, I feel like it wouldn't have been much of a choice at all. I feel like Outie Mark would have went right out of that door. Outie Mark wouldn't even have looked back at Helly. It would have been, my decision's already made. But Innie Mark, he does. I feel like Innie Mark sometimes has a little bit of a better moral compass than Outie Mark sometimes, maybe because he's not as tainted as from the outside world and 40 years of life experience, which can kind of change your thinking and maybe make you a little more selfish. Whereas the Innies kind of have that selfless nature to them. So I was really glad that it was Innie Mark in the long run who was left with this choice. And you see him, you could see he's struggling with it for a while, even though he has no connection to this woman, Gemma, other than it being his Outie's wife. He himself has no personal, no emotional connection to this person. He's doing all of this just to help his Outie at great expense and great risk to himself as well. Because as we hear him explain earlier in the episode, you guys taking down Lumon could potentially mean the death of all of the Innies. So he knew what he was risking, even helping Mark at all in this plan. So I was really glad it was left in the hands of Innie Mark. And I don't know, if I was Innie Mark, I would have made the right choice. I would have made the same choice as well. I probably would have chosen Helly if I was Mark too. And I love how they explain it in the inside the episode, talking about how Mark doesn't even know if he's only going to have another 10 seconds with Helly as he's running down this hallway, but he knows it's 10 more seconds that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And that really is the beauty of their kind of relationship and their love simplified into one scene. They don't know what the future is going to hold. They don't know if they'll ever be able to have a meaningful relationship together, but they're willing to take any second they can possibly get together, even if it's just 10 more seconds of running down this hallway. So I thought it was a really good way to end that episode. And it was even crazier. Another thing that I found out after the finale was they were going to end season 2 on a massive cliffhanger. They were going to end the season with Mark standing in the hallway, looking back and forth from Gemma to Helly, and then they were going to end the season right there, and we wouldn't have known who he chose. That was going to be the cliffhanger for season 2. But then Ben Stiller thought, maybe we shouldn't give them another massive cliffhanger like this. Let's resolve this season, give the fans some satisfaction, and then we'll end season 2. So we almost didn't even find out who Mark was going to choose. They were very close to just leaving it another big cliffhanger with Mark just standing there, having not decided yet. So I'm glad that they went the way they did. But what do you guys think of the chat? And what do you think as well, PM? Do you think it would have been a little more interesting if they did leave it on that cliffhanger? Or are you glad that they resolved it and we got to see the choice?
I'm really glad that they resolved it. I mean, I just can't imagine if the finale had ended in that way. So many people are having mixed feelings about it already, that I imagine that group would have grown in numbers. I like the resolution of it, and it's still a cliffhanger because we don't know, right? As you stated, it might be just 10 more minutes of them running down the hallway, and we don't know what's going to happen with them. However, we got to see that choice being made. I'm really glad that they did that. I wouldn't have liked it if they kind of just, left it at that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I would have liked it as well either. I agree. I think seeing Mark make this choice was a better way to end the season because, like you said, it still leaves tons of question as to what the heck's going to happen. Where are they going? Where can they run to? Where can they even run to? I mean, they're stuck on the severed floor. They only exist on the severed floor. As soon as they leave the building, as soon as they hop in the elevator, boom, it's right back to the Outie. So I thought it was an interesting choice, and I love how they explained it that way, where Mark wasn't thinking about where am I going to go, where is this going to lead to. He's only thinking about Helly is the woman that I love, and I don't care if this only buys me a few more minutes. This is the choice I'm making, and that's beautiful in and of itself, I think. But yeah, I'm glad they went this way and didn't leave it on the massive cliffhanger for sure. For sure.
And it is beautiful, but it makes me think. The beauty of it is that Romeo and Juliet, I just want to be with you. I don't want to live if it's not with you. However, if you were thinking about strategy, they could have made a plan. Like, I'm going to go reintegrate and I'll find you, right? Yeah. He knows that Elena is Helly, so he knows how to find the body, and then potentially he could then work his way back to Helly. They could then have a future together. But this way, they're making it so that they might extinguish the Innies altogether because they have shown that they cannot be trusted.
That's a really good point. I mean, we've seen the Innies now have 2 revolts, 2 rebellions at the end of both seasons. Like, these Innies are getting rowdy. They're starting to want a life of their own. They're not the small, quiet, docile Innies that we first met at the beginning of the series. So that is a really good point that you bring up. Has this stunt that Mark and the rest of the MDR team have pulled with, of course, help of Cobel and Devin, is this stunt that they have pulled, I mean, is this maybe the beginning of the end for the Innies entirely? I mean, especially when you add on the fact of the goat people getting involved with Brienne of Tarth going absolutely ham on Drummond, which was one of my favorite scenes in the episode. Yeah, you start to wonder, is Lumen ever going to look at the Innies and think maybe they're more trouble than they're worth?
I really like it. I love that you mentioned the revolt of the Innies because that is so true. They are feral. They're biting people.
Super
They
feral.
cannot be controlled. The goat people, this is why I could definitely see why they keep them separate because they
Yeah.
allowed them to see each
Yes.
other for what? A couple of minutes when they gave them that hall pass so that Helly and Mark could go around the hallway, which then led them to the goat people. So they allowed for that, and look at what they got. They got a revolt where they got the goat people to participate. They even get the people from the band to
Oh
participate
my
in the
God.
revolt.
They do. Even the people from the band. Wow, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you do start to think, like you said, this is probably why they wanted the departments to fear one another. So this is probably the exact scenario they were afraid of, these departments banding together and unionizing, for lack of a better form, violently unionizing. But I wonder if that could be a potential storyline in season 3, because the Innie and Outie program, it's very public. So I imagine they can't just end these Innies' lives without massive, massive PR backlash to Lumen, especially considering they're already not in the best of light in the public eye. So yeah, I mean, how are they going to handle this? And I wonder if we could potentially even see the Innies start to form some kind of union in season 3. Maybe that's a small plot line where they can dive into, where the Innies want to unionize. The Innies want a little bit more. They want more rights. They want more freedom. They want to be able to maybe experience the outside world. Like, this could open a whole new door for a whole new storyline for what the Innies potentially want now.
And it makes me think of the Macro Dad uprising video. You know how Lumen will take credit for anything, even the
Everything.
revolts
Yeah.
against them. And they made that Macro Dad uprising video that was like epic.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the video they're gonna make now with this revolt.
Oh
They're
my
probably gonna do
God.
the same thing and tell them all, you guys are heroes, and make a little video of everything that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally. I mean, I almost hope we do get another orientation video at the beginning of season 3. And if they do go that route, I hope it's like in the same style, where it's the same claymation. Get Keanu Reeves to come back, have him voice it again. Like, I would love to see another one, because like you said, even when something this catastrophic happens, they always bring it back to Lumen. They always bring it back to praise Kier for the Macro Dad uprising. It's always part of Kier's plan. Even a rebellion is part of Kier's plan. So, they have a way of putting their spin on things, which is impressive, if nothing else. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Quan enjoyed the finale. That is great. We got Samuel in the house as well. We got Joan R in the house. We got Internet Phase. Welcome, everybody. We got 88 Keys in the house as well. We got Miss Moonlight. Welcome, welcome. Got Pam Jam in the building. Welcome, Pam Jam. Let's see what else we got. We got Jen the Teacher. I am Team Outie. I've been seeing a lot of Team Innies in the chat, but I think this is the first Team Outie that I've seen from Jen the Teacher, and that is awesome to see. I love to see that both teams have some support in the chat. That is great. That is absolutely great. Redesigned Life. Welcome, Redesigned. Team Innie as well. And yes, Yo PM, I like your t-shirt. Isn't it so awesome? The coolest Lumen t-shirt I ever seen.
I know,
Especially considering she made it herself, guys. Like, she made this t-shirt herself. Super skilled PM is when it comes to stuff like that. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Thank you, Quan.
Yeah. We got Wayne in the house. What is up, Wayne? We got Xavier in the building. Also, Team Innie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The Innies have something to fight for, because they know there is a fight. Now that Devin knows she will fight for Outies. Yeah, this is something that's been interesting about the Innies, and why I've always really liked Helly's character as well, because she has been that way from the very beginning of the series. She's a fighter. I mean, I love the line we get from her in the finale where she's rallying the troops. She's trying to kind of win the band over to her side. And she's like, they give us half of a life and then they think we're not going to fight for it. And I love that attitude about her because she has always been a fighter. She's never been one of those characters that just sits back and lets things happen. She takes charge in any situation she's in. So yeah, some of the Innies have that kind of fighting spirit to them, and even Innie Mark, it turns out, has a little bit of fighting spirit in him as well, not letting Drummond just completely handling him, trying to fight back at least a little bit. Yeah, the Innies got some fight in them. The Innies have some fight. We got W Boston TV. What is up, W Boston TV? Welcome. We got Susie in the house as well, and Susan. Welcome, welcome one, welcome all. We got Christine Jellybean. Welcome. We got Doc Hayes in the house. What is up, Doc Hayes? Good to see you as well, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody on this fine Friday evening. Fine Friday evening indeed. Let's see who else I can see. I see TJ's in the house. What is up, TJ? That ending killed me, but it was better. But it was better for the story. It would have ended the story if Gemma was rescued. I mean, you do make a good point. A big part of the plot line was getting Gemma out and having Mark and Gemma reunited and all of that. They extended that in this sense where they leave room for conflict to start in season 3 before Mark and Gemma ever even find each other again. I mean, for all we know, Gemma might not even make it out of the Lumen building on her own. The plan was for Outie Mark to take over in the hallway. And then at that point, Outie Mark can guide her out of the building, guide both of them out of the building. But with Gemma just on her own in that hallway, in the stairway, I mean, there's definitely a possibility that she might not even make it out of the building, that they could capture her before she even gets to the lobby potentially. So yeah, they've left a lot of room for many different conflicts to take place when season 3 starts, for sure. Awesome stuff. Yeah, such a tragic love story, and they kind of all are in a sense. I mean, and that's one thing that Severance really is, especially where the Innies are concerned. Every single time we see an Innie fall in love, it has always ended in tragedy. I mean, Mark and Helly are the only two that are still going, but every other Innie romance that we have seen has been filled with tragedy, whether it's Dylan trying to find love with his Outie's wife. We know how the Innie Burt and Innie Irving story ended super tragically. The Innies don't have the best of luck when it comes to following their heart, but they keep trying nonetheless. And you got to at least respect that, I suppose.
You got to try.
Got to try, right? You got to try. Indeed. We got Michael in the house. Mark's Innie seemed out of character based on previous episodes. He spent several episodes searching for Gemma, and the revolution that Helly was and Eagan put him off. He knows Lumen is evil. Yeah, I mean, this was an interesting one. I don't know. I kind of liked Innie Mark in this finale probably the most. Just seeing him become aware. I love the sequence in the beginning of Innie and Outie Mark finally having a chance to communicate with one another. I thought that was just such an ingenious sequence, the way that they played it out. It's super simplistic, yet super genius at the same time. But I love that scene because it's almost like we saw the evolution of Innie Mark just within the span of that one conversation, where he's finally realizing for the first time that, wait a minute, maybe me and my Outie don't have similar goals. Maybe our interests aren't as aligned as they thought. I thought that was one of the best parts of the episode for me, seeing that Innie and Outie Mark might not be as close of allies as they originally thought, where they do kind of want two totally different things. And stopping Cold Harbor and saving Gemma, while it gives Outie Mark what he wants, it potentially ends everything that Innie Mark is fighting for. So that was an interesting kind of back and forth between those two. And then seeing Innie Mark come to that realization that if I go forward with this plan, it could potentially mean my doom and maybe even the doom of all of the Innies. If you take down Lumen, what's going to happen to us?
Yeah, I liked his attitude, and I could see what you mean with that comment. He kind of went back and forth, right? There was a moment in time where we were all very upset at Innie Mark because he was being so cruel to Helly. So he does kind of go back and forth when he finds out that she's an Eagan. He doesn't fully trust her, and then we see him come full circle where he makes a choice to be with her, right? He also has a beautiful line where she tells him, "You can live. You if you do this, you can live." And he says, "But I want to live with you." So it was so sweet. I did like him, and I agree. Even though he kept going back and forth, I think that he ended up being the best version of the Innie Mark that we know.
Definitely. And I 100% agree. I really feel like we saw the best of Innie Mark in this finale, him coming into his own, knowing that this plan could severely jeopardize he and Helly's love and all of the Innies, yet he still went the extra mile to try and help Mark. Still did it. So yeah, I thought we saw great growth from Innie Mark in this episode as well. And as Easy Flea brings up, yeah, for some reason there were a lot of people wondering if this was Helena and not Helly on the severed floor, and I wasn't quite sure where those theories were coming from. I thought it was pretty clear that this is Helly. This is definitely the real Helly. This is not Helena. But for some reason, I saw that a lot of people were wondering if it was really Helena on the severed floor towards the end and not Helly. And yes, Britt Lauer did come out and confirm and guarantee that yes, it was the real Helly. And I kind of always knew it was, but yeah, I saw that debate starting to break out, and I guess I just couldn't understand why people were thinking it was Helena. I thought this was very clearly established that this is Helly now, not Helena. But you never know, and that's what's so great about the show. You never know how someone is going to see a scene and interpret it. That's what's so great about having these discussions. We're all watching the same show, yet we all see it through our own perception. And you never know, two people might get something totally different out of the same scene. And I think that's maybe one of those moments. But yeah, it was it was good to at least know the confirmation is out there. And I also agree with All City here as well. That was one of the best parts of this whole narrative. It's so unique to the premise of the show. I'm struggling with so many people being disappointed in Innie Mark. Yeah, a lot of people were not feeling Innie Mark. I did see a lot of those comments on social media in our very own comment sections. There were some comments being made that not everybody was too happy with Innie Mark and some of the decisions he made. And that's totally understandable. I mean, again, everybody's welcome to their own opinion. But yeah, I was on the complete opposite spectrum as well. I thought, holy shit, Innie Mark was great in this episode. I thought he was wonderful. And maybe it's because some people like Outie Mark and Gemma. Maybe some people like that couple a little bit more. And seeing that Mark didn't go that route and he went the Helly route, maybe that could have put some people off. I could totally understand that. After all, I mean, the fandom has been pretty split for most of the season in terms of who you like better, Innie Mark and Helly, or Outie Mark and Gemma. So if you're an Outie Mark and Gemma fan, then yes, I could totally understand why some people might be a little perturbed or a little upset at Innie Mark. But for me, I thought Innie Mark was great in this episode. As you mentioned, PM, I feel like we saw the very best of Innie Mark in this episode.
And the great thing about today, Sebis, is that you get to decide. So this is a perfect Innie versus Outie scenario, because you get to decide who you liked best based on everything that you know about them, based on the finale and their process, what we have seen them go through. You get to decide not only what Innie versus Outie you like best, but what couple you like best. So start thinking about who you're going to choose.
Indeed. And that is what we are going to do. We are going to dive into all of these Innies and Outies, and we're going to put up a poll for each one of them so you guys can vote on it and decide who do you like better. Do you choose Innie Mark? Do you choose Outie Mark? Where exactly are you guys standing after the finale? And I will pull up that first poll here in 1 second. But first, I think I see we have a super chat from Jennifer Grover. Thank you so much, Jennifer Grover. Jeremy, I'm kind of loaded right now. Just wanted to stop in for a second, say hi. You are a sweetheart. Well, thank you for that, Jennifer. That is incredibly generous of you. I hope you are enjoying your evening, and be careful. Don't party too hard, but definitely party a little bit. It was a good finale. But thank you so much. Very much appreciate the $5 super chat. That is very generous.
Yes! Do it, Seth!
Do it, Seth. That'll never get old. Do it, Seth. Great. I mean, really was a great finale. And in terms of levity, I feel like we got some really good, just pure levity scenes in this episode. And I think that was the best time to throw some of these scenes in there, considering how dark some scenes in this finale got. Like, like straight up blood and gore in some scenes with the Drummond thing and the elevator and Brienne versus Drummond and the heartbreaking ending. Like, this episode needed a few moments of just good old levity. And I feel like we got a few really good moments of levity, ones that I really enjoyed. And I got a few clips here and we're going to play. Of course, there's the first quick one that has been memed into oblivion already. I mean, just looking on social media, yes, I've seen so many memes already being made of this clip right off that. Just off that.
He's so fast.
He's so quick.
He's so fast.
He's so fast. Like, Milchick is super quick. That had me dying. Because I think scenes like that can be the funniest because they're just completely unexpected. I had no idea this run was coming, and he just slides the paper towards him, super slow, super calm, and then dips right out of there so fast. It was hilarious. That had me on the floor.
It's hilarious, but then I remember what Faye said, his theory about him running, because he thought that Dylan was going to bite him again.
Thought that was going to bite him,
which makes it even more hilarious because then
he didn't want to get bit again. Yeah, that does make it even funnier. And then to know that he's running out into the hallway and we see him, the tie scene that we saw in the preview that all of us were wondering, is Milchick getting ready to throw down? Is he getting frustrated? Is he quitting his job? Nope, he's simply just late for band practice and he's got to change his tie. It was that simple. So that was pretty funny too. I must say. Good stuff. Good stuff. Looks like we got another super chat from Jennifer Grover. Thank you so much, Jennifer Grover. Very much appreciate that. Jeremy, you are a sweetheart, and this young lady to your right is very beautiful. Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I could not agree more. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Incredibly generous. Incredibly generous.
Irving, stop this! She's a fucking mole!
What are you doing?
I'm gonna kill her, Mr. Milchick!
Yes. Thank you again.
Just love when her face is underwater.
Love it. Love it. I'll never get tired of that scene. I'll never tire of that scene. But yes, thank you again, Jennifer Grover. Very much appreciate that. That is incredibly generous of you. And yes, I could not agree more. Indeed. All right, let's play a few of these, and then I'm going to pull up the first poll, and you guys are going to get to vote on your first Innie and Outie pair and which one you think deserves to win. But first, again, two other scenes that stood out to me in terms of having a finale like this that really needed some good levity, some good comedic levity every now and then. This was one of the ones that had me almost in tears. The back and forth between Milchick versus the Eagan statue. Defeated look on Milchick's face towards the end of that. You see him just like, he's so defeated. You could tell like this insult hurt him to his core. Good thing you didn't write the appendix. It would have burst. Like, it's just so perfect. I love the banter back and forth, especially when you look at the context that it's literally a human and a freaking wax statue just bantering back and forth, slinging insults. Love that scene.
It's not just that, but the way he looks at him is like, oh God, this has been like enough. I'm doing so much. I'm doing my performance. I'm like doing the celebration, dealing with Dylan, everything that he has been through. He's trying his best. And he just
It really is. And you can totally understand now when Milchick says to Dylan when he passes that the paper to him, he says, I would love to stay here and read it with you, but I am swamped with my duties. It's like, you are not kidding. You got tons of stuff on your plate that you're trying to get through, aren't you, Mr. Milchick? Like they are running you ragged on this severed floor, not giving you a break. Yeah, it was just so hilarious to see this back and forth between these two characters. It felt like it was a back and forth between two characters. And then to just see the look on Milchick's face, he just looked so defeated, like so defeated, so sad after listening to this wax statue just insult him. This was great. This was absolutely hilarious. Loved this.
I love that. Love that. And like we said on the last live stream, He's having the worst week. It's so unfair. Like he's having one thing after another go wrong. He's doing his best. It's never enough. He gets beat up by the Innies constant.
He's constantly getting beat up by these Innies, whether he's getting hit in the face with trombones by Helly. Like, he is not having a good week at all. Like, he is going
Not
through
only
it.
that, but he's I'm gonna tighten the leash. They are more violent than ever.
More violence than ever. We were all wondering, what is the V for violence going to be for in this episode? A lot of us thinking it's probably just going to be like one scene. Nope, half of this freaking episode was pure violence and carnage and gore and blood flying all over the place. Like, this was such a violent episode. Loved it, though. Absolutely loved it.
And Drummond was right. That's tightening the leash. Like,
yes,
he gave them permission to act out.
Yeah, this is your idea of tightening the leash. Like, come on, you got to get better. You got to get better. Yeah, poor Milkshake, always in trouble for being smart. I know, poor guy. He just cannot catch a break. Comedy Central presents the roast of Milkshake. Yes, it's totally the roast of Milkshake, and it's funny too because we last week. Us in the chat, we're totally kind of diving into the roast of James Eagan. Like, there was just the best insults I had seen in a very long time. Everyone just calling James everything in the book, from creepy, weirdo, and everything else. It really was the roast of James Eagan last week. Now it's the roast of poor old Milkshake. Poor old Milkshake. Yeah, that one hurt Milkshake. It did hurt him because you definitely get the sense that, you know, his vocabulary is very much a part of who he is. It's his identity. It's not just something that he says. You can tell that he's not going out of his way to speak this way. This is just how he naturally talks. And you could see how much it affected him the first time Lumon told him to kind of tamper that down, to stop using big words, which ended up being one of the things that finally made Milchick kind of stand up to Drummond for the first time and say, no, you know, devour feculence instead of eating shit. And then here we go. Another episode later, we see this happening again, where he's getting called out for his vocabulary for speaking in too big of words. And, you know, the book would have never shut. The book would have burst open. It is kind of funny because it does seem like these kind of insults do hurt Milkshake. Like, he doesn't want his vocabulary to be hindered, I don't think. But yeah, Kier's
And
so.
what's hilarious is last episode, when he said devour feculence, we all started saying, you know what, he is disrespected. And he said, I'm a floor manager and I deserve a level of respect. Even us, we were like, maybe we shouldn't call him Mr. Milkshake. Maybe we should call him his actual name. Everybody's super disrespectful to him. And in the finale, it got worse.
It did. It gets worse. It just gets worse from this point on. Yeah, from hearing an insult from a wax wooden statue to being locked in a freaking bathroom to being hit in the head with a trombone to having all of your innies just revolt against you and get ready to pounce on you when you finally do get out of the bathroom. This was not a fun finale for good old Milkshake, or Milkshake, we should say now, I guess. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, the vision joke was too much. Yeah. One of my core principles. Vision. Yeah, that was a good one. What is that? They want to make his performance review sitcom fodder with a laugh track. Maybe. And it does look a little bit like abuse. I mean, you can definitely make that argument where Milchick has been abused by this company. Yeah, like and it seems like that's exactly what they do with all of their employees. They are abusing and using their employees to kind of further their agenda, no matter what it puts the employee through. And yeah, Milchick has been one of the most egregious examples of this, where everything that Lumon has put him through, and he just sits there and keeps taking it. It does come off as abuse after a little while. That's why I was really hoping to see him kind of stand up for himself a little bit more, but he fell right into full-on villainy in this episode, like full-on villain.
And it's not just the company that's abusive. It's this Innies.
It's the Innies too. Everybody is abused. Everybody that Milchick comes in contact with is abusive towards him, either physically or mentally or emotionally. Everybody is abusing this poor guy.
Even the Kier statue.
Even a statue. Oh my God. Poor Milchick cannot catch a break. Cannot catch a break. What was the best quote of season 2? My choice. Did everyone sever their balls in the elevator this morning? I love that line. That was from Helly, I believe, right? When Helly first kind of gets brought back and she's talking about finding the hidden elevator. And Dylan's like, oh, no. He's like, I can't risk it. And yeah, we hear Helly say, did everyone's balls get severed in the elevator this morning? That was a good one. That was a very, very good one indeed.
Helly has a really good one in the finale too. It's always Helly. It's always Helly who like has the best lines. When James Eagan is like saying, I don't like my daughter.
Yeah, I don't love my daughter. Straight up saying, I don't love my daughter. Like, what the fuck,
Super
James?
weird, right?
Super
It's
weird.
like super weird to say. And she says, you're so fucking weird, which is like the best line because it's what we were all thinking. He is super weird.
He really is. He's so creepy, so strange. Like he's one of those characters that literally gives me like the chills when I see him talk sometime, like almost like my skin wants to crawl off of my body. He's super creepy. Very much a skin crawling inducing kind of effect he has. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the person speaking behind the statue was Fields. Was it really Fields? Do you mean like the actor? Was it the actor John Noble who was doing the voice? That I could totally see. Like listening back to it now after reading that, I could see that being John Noble's voice, if that's what you meant, Christine Jellybean, or if you're just maybe guessing it was Fields, or if it was the actual actor who played Fields doing that voice. That could be interesting. At first, I thought it was the actor that they got to play Kier. They do have an actor that is cast to play the older Kier, and we hear his voice in season 1 as well at the Perpetuity Wing when he's talking about the tempers. It's just a little recording in the Perpetuity Wing that plays, but it sounded like that voice to me. It sounded like the original voice they used for Kier and the Kier statue in season 1. That's kind of who I thought it was anyway. But yeah, good stuff. It gave me Chuck E. Cheese Disney Hall of Presidents vibes. Yes. Milchick still serves at all times. He does, unfortunately. And again, I mean, we see him start to kind of stand up for himself a little bit in, a few episodes ago where it's like, okay, he's finally not taking their shit. And then, yeah, it felt like this episode was a bit of a regression, kind of a step back for Milchick where he fell right back into that kind of tyrannical middle management vibe that he had in season 1. So I was really hoping for him to continue to evolve more down that path to eventually, hopefully, get to some point where he can redeem himself and work against Lumon. But I think it would have been a little too much with Cobel kind of rebelling against Lumon, finally coming to terms with Lumon being this evil corporation. Maybe it was just a little bit too much that they don't want to have a Cobel and a Milchick redemption arc so close to each other. So maybe they kind of had to double down on Milchick going the evil route. And maybe we'll see a potential redemption arc for Milchick in season 3. I still haven't given up hope, I guess. I have not given up all of the hope on Milchick. Maybe it's still possible that he will have a redemption arc.
Yeah. And All City Big Heck, it might just be me, but how I read that comment is like he's serving at all times because he is in the most fabulous outfits. Even his band practice outfit, pretty cool. He has the best moves. So, and the other way, he is always serving. Looks. Yes.
The dude is always serving. He's always serving up that shit. Absolutely. I mean, he's got swag. He's got style. He does always look good when he's in these kind of dance number routines. He had the full-on marching band suit on. He's got some swag. Milchick's got some swag. You can't take that away from him. You certainly can't, especially the shoulder shimmy. I feel like the shoulder shimmy was so good in this episode. The guy's got some moves. He has got some moves. Fields, explain. Fields was the husband of Outie Burt, played by the actor John Noble. We saw him a few episodes ago when Outie Bert and Outie Irving finally have their weird, awkward dinner. Outie Bert's husband is Fields. That's his name, Fields. If anybody was wondering what the Fields came from. Let's see what else we got. It's messed up though. Like they are offended by Milchick being smarter than them. And you do get a little bit of a sense. I feel like, especially on Drummond's part, where Drummond is concerned, you do almost get that sense where he does feel a little bit slighted. He feels like maybe he feels a little bit lesser than in Milchick's presence because he knows how much smarter Milchick is than him. Because he is. I mean, you look at the intellect of Milchick, and it's like, man, why are you not running this whole company? Like, you are way smarter than all of these people that are around you. And that's why I really want him to kind of break free from this loyalty that he feels that he has to Lumen, because he's better than Lumen, I feel. Yes, he kind of keeps falling into that ways of being loyal to this company. But once he breaks free of that, I feel like Milchick will be one of those characters that's going to be capable of a lot in the future, depending on what he wants to do, where he wants to expend his energy. Because I feel like when he puts his mind to something, he ends up being very good at it because he is super smart and super capable. So yeah, you definitely get that sense where maybe they are, or at the very least where Drummond is concerned, he definitely seems like he's a little bit offended or kind of off put when he's in Milchick's presence, because Milchick is smarter than him. He's using all these words he doesn't understand. Like he's just always focused. Yeah, I could potentially see that. I could potentially see that.
It's a great point, and it's also it lets you know about his experience. We know that they gift him these paintings that are very offensive, very racist, and he's intelligent enough, way more intelligent than them, to understand the complexity of the problematic thing that they're doing. Right? He even tries to speak to Natalie about that, and not only are they offended by the fact that he is more intelligent than they are, but they continuously are trying to put him down. Ben Stiller said that they see him as less than. That's what he said in the podcast. That is how they view Mr. Milkshake. And you could see definitely by the way that they treat him that in fact they do see him as less than, unfortunately.
Yeah, they do. And you definitely get that sense where they do have that kind of air of entitlement around them when they're in front of Innies, the way they speak about Innies, and the way that not only they speak about Innies, but the way they train their employees to view Innies. And I feel like we got a very clear indication of that through Miss Wong this season as well, where it comes time for them to do a little bit of a funeral service for Irving. And the first thing we hear Miss Wong say is, you shouldn't allow them to have a funeral. It makes them feel like humans. And that told me that, okay, like not only are they indoctrinating these poor children super early on at such a young age, but they're also making sure that the children view the Innies as less than human. I imagine that's not something Miss Wong came up with on her own. She was most likely taught at this creepy school, at this Wintertide Fellowship, wherever Lumen has been indoctrinating these children. You definitely get the sense that they are instilling that into them, that you are the employer, you are human, they are not, you're better than them, they're less than humans. You get that sense that they want their employees to feel far more superior than the Innies, that they don't even view the Innies as human. So you definitely get that for sure.
I really like how before Miss Juan, Minnie Milkshake, left, you see her come to terms with the fact that not only are they human, but they have feelings and they're going through something very similar, because she didn't get a choice to leave. And when Dylan is filling out the questionnaire and he's saying, yes, I'm lonely, yes, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, he has all of the signs of somebody that is unwell. She keeps looking down at the paper and then apologizes. And you could see that she is very sincere in her apology, saying, I'm so sorry, Dylan. I should have facilitated better. So now she's coming to terms with the fact that not only are they people, but she is just a part in this machine that is also not seen as somebody that matters. Her opinion is not being asked regarding where she's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're totally right. It's like even she is finally coming to terms and finally maybe seeing Lumen in a different light. And I did actually really like that scene from Miss Wong at the end because, yeah, she had kind of viewed the Innies as less than human, as people that don't even deserve the rights for a final funeral, a final farewell, which, you would think any is a basic human right for every person on the planet, regardless of your faith or your religion or how you deal with those kinds of ceremonies. Everybody deserves a right to say farewell to a loved one. Everybody deserves that right. And yeah, I mean, the fact that they had her believing that at the beginning of the season, to her kind of evolving herself and growing up a lot herself and spending time with these Innies herself, she finally started to realize, I assume, that no, these are people. They might have half of a life, but this is their life. This is their existence. This is the only life they have. And yeah, I like that realization from Miss Wong right at the very end, where she's like, I'm sorry, Dylan, I should have facilitated better. So that's a really good point. We got to see some good evolution from even Miss Wong. And then even to go as further where, we see how they treat her. Like she wasn't treated too well either, where she graduates from this Wintertide fellowship and then they don't even let her go home to say goodbye to her family and pack her own things. Milchick straight up tells her, your bed will be moved from your parents' location to Svalbard, which is in Norway, a part of Norway anyway. It's super dark. And, I did kind of come out of the end of Mrs. Wong's storyline in season 2, or Miss Wong's storyline, feeling a little bit bad for her, feeling like this is a poor child that got snatched up at who knows how early of an age, indoctrinated into this sick cult-like mentality way of thinking. And now I feel like she's only just now coming to the realization of what she is truly neck deep in, as she's about to get shipped off to parts unknown, some completely foreign country where she knows nobody, maybe doesn't even speak the language. Like you do feel bad for poor Miss Wong there in that final scene. At least I kind of did anyway, especially knowing that this is child labor being exploited, which is never okay.
Never okay. And it makes me think about once it settles in, right? The horror of what's happening to Miss Huang, then I have other questions. Why does her bed need to be moved all the way over there? Do they not have beds there?
They don't have
What is
beds?
up with Severance and the show, like focusing on the beds? It reminds me of like Rickon when he said, if you don't buy 3 beds for your child immediately and put them in the same room, they're going to have trauma. It's like, do they also go by that? And she needs to have her bed, her specific bed.
Yeah, maybe. Because I was wondering that. It's like, of all things, it's not like he's saying your clothes, your possessions are going to be moved. He straight up says your bed is going to be moved. It was a little bit strange for him to kind of characterize it like that and say it in that manner. But no, I think that's actually probably a really good explanation right there. That maybe it's one of those things where it's, they believe that you need to have your bed, your specific bed, maybe. I don't know. Makes sense, at least. Gonzalez says, when you get hit in the head with a trombone, you're having a bad day. That would qualify. That would qualify. If I'm getting hit in the head with a trombone, something's going to tell me that this is not a great day I'm having. So I think you're right on there, right on the money there, Quan. Very much right on the money.
Yeah. I just imagine him getting home, after these long days, this week from hell. Like he gets home, leaves his like helmet, and just like sitting there on the couch, like
poor Milchick. Yeah, it's like shit, another day tomorrow. And that's what's so funny, he's not severed. So it's so crazy. He has to go through all of this nutty stuff. And I saw someone mention this on social media, and I 100% agree with it. It's like Milchick isn't severed. He has to go through all of this crazy shit and then just hop on his bike and go home at the end of the night. And you're totally right. That's literally what it is. Like he goes through all this fucking hell, then he just has to go home and just stew in it until the next day comes around and do it all over again. Like it's a fucked up existence. I would not want this job if I was Milchick. Man. Man, yeah, he goes full Joker in this episode for sure. Yeah, monosyllabically speaking. That was a good one too. That was a good one. Let's see. Okay. So many allusions to TV shows. Did anyone get Hulk vibes when Milchick broke out of the bathroom and he jumped up on it like a machine? I got a little mix of like Hulk vibes and almost Terminator vibes. Like he reminded me like he was one of the Terminators, kind of bursting through the door, hopping up on the vending machine the way that he did. It did give me that, especially with like I think the red light helped a lot. But between the red light, him hopping up on the vending machine, it all just gave me kind of Terminator vibes. Like this is something you would see a Terminator villain do. Break out of the freaking room, and you see the look on his face as he's hopping up. He looks super intense. He's super pissed. Like he's super ready for war. Yeah, it gave me kind of almost Terminator-esque vibes. But I could definitely see Hulk vibes as well, though, for sure. For sure. Fucking guy, man. Oh, this guy. I literally finally got myself to start spelling business right. It says busyness over and over to remember. Sorry, I mean, auto text is some of the worst things that has ever happened to smartphones. I cannot stand autocorrect. It's always making me spell shit wrong. It never fucking helps. It never gets the word I'm trying to fucking spell. It's a problem. It has become a problem. Sure, for sure. For sure. Yeah, like Lou Ferrigno Hulk. That I can see a little bit more, like full-on Lou Ferrigno Hulk. No CGI, no big monstrous CGI Hulk, just pure old Lou Ferrigno and his real muscles Hulk. The old school Hulk from the 70s and 80s. Definitely. Definitely. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. But all right, I mean, without further ado, let's get into our first Innie versus Outie vote. And you guys can choose, who do you prefer? Who would win? Innie versus Outie. Who do you like better? Innie versus Outie. And we are going to start with none other than the marks themselves. Got to start with the marks, right? I mean, they are the pillar of the show, the pillar of everything that is happening here. So we are going to start off with the very first poll of the night for Innie versus Outie being Mark himself. And since the way these polls are set up like this, I'm going to put, do you like any Mark better? Yes or no. It'll be a yes or no. So if you like any Mark better, if any Mark is who you're going with, you hit yes. And if you like Outie Mark better, if Outie Mark is your choice, then you simply hit no. Is any Mark better? Boom. Is any Mark better? Start the poll. Let's see where this one goes. Very interested to see how this one goes, especially after the finale. Again, I saw a lot of people that were throwing some shade towards Innie Mark's way. And I kind of really enjoyed the way how Innie Mark played things in this episode. Personally, I feel like he played things super, super well. But ultimately, it is up to you guys in the chat. Who do you think is better? Who would you choose, Innie Mark or Outie Mark? And what about you, PM? When it comes to the marks in particular, Innie Mark or Outie Mark, which way are you going, you think?
I mean, I have to go personally with Innie Mark. However, we can't both be on the same team, Jeremy. That would not be fun. So I'm going to make my case for Outie Mark. Okay.
Okay.
Outie Mark has suffered so much. We have seen, you guys remember that episode of Mark and Gemma, their struggle. Remember how much they suffered. He wants to save his wife, right? He has that beautiful line where he says, Mr. Milkshake repeats it, that according to him, it's a hearsay. You said that every day felt like a year, that you felt like you were choking on her ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself, that is an existence that is completely tortured. Not only has he been going through this, but he admitted to having thrown himself into alcoholism, showing up to work drunk and losing his job because he was showing up to work drunk after the death of Gemma. So he has been through a lot. Gemma also really wants him to live so that they could share in this life together. So that's my case for Outie Mark.
Well, you make a good case. You do make a very strong case. Outie Mark has gone through a lot. I mean, the guy's been on this just horrible path ever since losing his wife, and even a little bit before losing his wife. It's really ever since the miscarriage. I feel like from the miscarriage on, things have just been getting harder and harder and harder for Outie Mark. First, the miscarriage in and of itself, then losing your wife, then of course not being able to kind of cope in a healthy way to the point where you're showing up to your own job drunk, where you get fired, then you take a severed position just to kind of hopefully for ease some of the pain just for a few, or to at least not feel some of the pain for a few hours a day. You definitely make a strong case. You make a strong case for Outie Mark, and looking at everything he's been through, everything that it encapsulates. You definitely could totally understand people choosing Innie or Outie in this instance, because they both had some pretty interesting and tough roads. Me, I don't know. I think I've always just liked Innie Mark just a little bit more. I don't hate Outie Mark by any means. I feel like Outie Mark's a phenomenal character too, but something about Innie Mark I've just always really enjoyed. He's got this young innocent, this kind of naivete innocence about him, where he's super young, he doesn't know a whole lot about the world, and even like super small things to him, reading from Rickon's book in season 1, and then actually getting a chance to meet Rickon at the end of the season and just being so starstruck and so happy, like, no, this book changed my life, you have no idea what you mean to me, kind of thing. Like he's in awe and amazed by some of the smallest things, and that really does show you that sometimes the Innies maybe even appreciate life a little bit more than the Outies, because they never take it for granted. And that's something that you can totally understand from an Outie. I mean, life is life. They live their life every day. They wake up, they go to work, they come home, they go to bed, eat, sleep. But someone like the Innies, they don't have all those luxuries. They have a very limited amount of time that they're even awake. So I can totally understand where in some cases where maybe the Innies might appreciate their life a little bit more than the Outies do, where they don't take it as much for granted. So I don't know. For me, I'm going Innie Mark. Something about Innie Mark has always kind of struck a chord with me. I've always been a big fan of the way he operates, his demeanor, his hopeful outlook on everything. Whereas Outie Mark always kind of had that defeated, kind of glass half full look on things, which you could totally understand why after everything he's been through. Again, he's been through a lot. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Innie Mark. I think Innie Mark is better. And looking at the poll, it looks like right now we have around 61% are saying that Innie Mark is better. 38% of you are saying no, Outie Mark is better. So there we go. Innie Mark's ahead a little bit, but not too much. 60% to around 38%, 60-40 around there to round up and round down. Yeah. I can definitely see an argument for both. Definitely.
Yeah, tell us why, because in the poll we're gonna see the numbers, but I want to know why. If you chose Outie, I'm making the case for Outie. I choose Innie, but tell us why is it that you chose Outie Mark or Innie Mark? What is it that compels you to want to be on their side?
And that's a very good point. I mean, yeah, it's very easy to click yes or no on a poll, but yeah, what do you guys think? Like, if you're going Innie Mark, tell us why. If you're going Outie Mark, tell us why. It's a very good point. What led you to make this choice? Wayne Peterson says, I sympathize with Innie Mark more because he didn't ask to be created as a slave worker. Now, that's a very good point as well, Wayne. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, Innie Mark did not ask for this life. He did not ask to be born. He did not ask to be shoved into a cubicle for the entirety of his whole existence and told and basically be told where to be, when to be there, how long to be there, and to do your job. And that's all you have to look forward to in life. No way to enjoy the fruits of your labor, no chance to explore the outside world, usually no chance to find love. Luckily, some of our Innies did manage to find love right there on the severed floor, but most of our Innies, I imagine, are probably never ever going to even experience love. But no, that's a good point. Innie Mark didn't have a choice here. He did not have any say whatsoever in this existence that he's living now. So that's an interesting point. I think that's a good explanation, at least. Outie Mark once captured a butterfly. That he did. And then, unfortunately, he lost her. The irony was Innie Mark was a little more spicy this episode, actually more like Outie Mark, and he was a little bit Thai. I definitely noticed that, and I was wondering if that's maybe a side effect of the reintegration, coming a little closer and closer to being 100% complete. Because we hear Outie Mark say in this episode, "I've been seeing flashes of your life. I'm sure you've been seeing flashes of mine." So if they're already seeing flashes of each other's life, I have to imagine they're probably going to start experiencing some of each other's emotions as well. We do know that whether or not things transcend the severance barrier has been a pretty big discussion here in season 2. I mean, pretty much a big part of Cold Harbor was them testing to see what would transcend the severance barrier, putting Gemma through all of this stuff with all of these different personalities, seeing if she'll remember it from one to the other. So yeah, that's been a huge part of it up until this point. So I could totally understand them starting to feel each other's emotions at this point, for sure. For sure. Why couldn't there be an option for I love them both? Well, sorry, we got to make it a little tough on you guys, because if we put like them both, that just makes it too easy. We want you guys to actually really dive into it and tell us which one you like. Anybody can choose both, but choosing one or the other is a little tougher, in my opinion. So no, we didn't want to
Kind of
throw
like
both
Mark.
options. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Mark in that hallway, right? You can't go out the door and also go with Helly. You
Yes.
have to make a choice.
Very true. Very true. As much as Mark probably would have wanted to split himself into two and half go with Gemma and half go with Helly, unfortunately, that's just not the reality of the situation. You have to choose. And yeah, it's a tough choice, Doc. I definitely feel you, my friend. It's a tough choice. I am torn too. Any Mark equals dumbass. Outie Mark equals smartass. And there's a little bit of that aspect at play. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can feel for the Outies over the Innies, says Ty Breaks. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. And I can definitely feel for both. And I do feel for both, but I think at times part of me does feel a little bit more for the Innies because of what Wayne said earlier in the chat as well. The fact that they didn't have a choice in any of this, they were forced into this life. They were forced into a life of indentured servitude, essentially. So they never really had a say in what their path was going to be. They were put on their path and booted in one certain direction, regardless of how they felt about it. So whenever I think of that, sometimes I do tend to feel a little bit more sympathy for the Innies, I guess. But again, the Outies, so a lot of them have been through a lot too. So I can definitely see both sides for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. I vote for Mark, our Mark, fully reintegrated Mark. And I imagine that's probably going to be coming in season 3. Once we see Mark fully reach 100% reintegration, what is that going to look like? And I thought Innie Mark brought up a really good point on that front as well, where he says, what happens when it reaches 100%? Well, I have 2 years of life experience where you have 20 times that. So it seems like when we join and become one, it's going to be mostly you. There's not a whole lot of me there to contend with. It's not like it's an even keel, even playing field. It's not balanced. So I do appreciate Innie Mark for being very aware during that conversation and noticing these things and having enough wherewithal to ask these questions before just listening to what Outie Mark said.
Yeah, I was really surprised that he stood up for himself, right? And not only does he make a great point, but then it brings up the issue of not only is he going to be reintegrated, if there wasn't an expectation for him to be in a relationship with someone, then that's totally fine. However, there is an expectation because Gemma has an expectation of her husband and Helly has an expectation of her boyfriend. I think we could call them boyfriends, girlfriends. I mean, that's basically what they are. So that's where the problem begins. Who does he have feelings for? Mark, Audi Mark says something really interesting to Innie Mark, which not only was it super mean and condescending, however, it was true. He says to Innie Mark, I know that you found love there with Helene. Imagine the way that you love Helene, but 20 times. So he feels like his love is more important. And because he has more years, he has 4 years. He said he was married to Gemma. Who who does he love, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's this whole Severance dichotomy is so interesting to see all of this, because you start to wonder, like, the actual real ramifications behind something like the Severance program. And this is one thing I feel like the show nails really well. It's not one of those sci-fi shows that comes up with this sci-fi technology and then takes it to parts unknown. Yes, it's definitely very much sci-fi, the Severance technology, but I feel like they've grounded it in such a realistic way that if this technology did really exist, I imagine it would probably look a lot like what we're seeing here on this show. Like, they do have that realism aspect to something that is science fiction. So I've always loved that about the show, the realism behind the sci-fi. Really good. Really, really good. Let's see what else we got. We got 56% are saying yes, Innie Mark is better, but Outie Mark is catching up now, guys. 56% to 44%. It is catching up. So vote now while you can, ladies and gents. Who is better? Do you prefer Innie Mark? Yes or no? Is it Innie or is it the Outie? Man, oh man, oh man. Innie Mark was willing to let Gemma die when he was arguing in the cabins. Can't side with him. Well, I mean, I kind of have to look at it at the full scope of that. Innie Mark might have been willing to let Gemma die, but Outie Mark was willing to let every single Innie in existence die. Which is the bigger crime, letting one person die or letting hundreds of people potentially die? So it wasn't just Innie Mark who was willing to let someone die in that scene. It was definitely Outie Mark, Devin, Cobel. All of them were very much ready and willing to sacrifice every single Innie in existence. So while I definitely understand people not liking Innie Mark being willing to let Gemma die, Outie Mark was willing to let way more people die. So I kind of try to look at the whole picture there. But I do understand your sentiment. Definitely. I can definitely understand that. But, I feel like Innie Mark in that scene, he's not just fighting for himself. He's not fighting for his life. He's fighting for his relationship with Helly. He's fighting for every single Innie that is on that severed floor. And that's one thing I really do like about Innie Mark. He really has kind of stepped into that position of the kind of quote unquote leader of the Innies, where he's out there and he's fighting for each and every one of them to have the right to exist, where Outie Mark is only thinking about what he wants, getting his wife back. So in that regard, I do kind of have to side with Innie Mark. Again, I feel like Innie Mark's intentions in that scene were a little more altruistic, where he wasn't just thinking about himself and what he wants. He's thinking about all of these other Innies who would get extinguished if Outie Mark gets what he wants. So I don't know. That's kind of just how I saw it, I guess. But that's what's fun about this show, and that's what's fun about these scenes. We can all see the exact same scene and get something totally different from it, and that's what makes these discussions fun, to see where we overlap, where we differ. If everybody thought the same, these discussions would be boring as fuck. But yeah. That's kind of was just my take on it. They're both willing to let someone or multiple someones die to get what they want. But Innie Mark at least was kind of fighting for people other than himself, as Mark was only fighting for his wife. But again, you can definitely understand both sides for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Innie Mark didn't have a choice and is essentially a slave. And that's kind of where I tend to kind of align a little bit more with the Innies. And like Ty says, all the Innies are slaves pretty much. They really are. I mean, none of them asked to get born. None of them asked to get put into this position. They are all slaves in a sense, indentured servitude at the very least. And yeah, I mean, again, the Outies have a choice. Innies don't. Outie Mark is weak. Yes. Again, Outie Mark, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot for sure. And Outie Mark is the real Mark. And I can understand that argument as well. He's the original. He's the one who created Innie Mark. But again, I think the Innies have they have some fight in them. And I think some of the Innies at times live a little bit of an even happier existence than some of the Outies do. Like with Helly and Helena, for existence, they're a perfect example of, yes, Helly's the Innie, and she is technically, she had no choice into becoming into existence. But we see Helly have a certain degree of freedom that Helena never had. the freedom to follow your heart, the freedom to fall in love with who you want to fall in love with, which is what Helly did, falling in love with Innie Mark. Helena, though, seems like she never even had that option. The way she was raised, the way James Eagan is just this incredibly creepy, weird-ass father. I imagine that having room for Helena to follow her heart was never an option for her. It was just never an option, where Helly does have that freedom.
Yeah, and what was really interesting about the way that her horrible father says, I don't like my daughter because she doesn't have this thing that Helly has that makes him see Kier in her, which it's the aggressive behavior, it's the bravado, it's the way that Helly takes control. Even she's a little aggressive and violent. That's when he says, "Oh, there he is. There's Kier." He did say that he used to see Kier and Elena, but as she got older, he couldn't see Kier anymore. And it perfectly makes sense as to the type of father that he is, that would happen. Maybe when Elena was younger, she was able to be more herself. But as he micromanaged and criticized her and just basically he won't even let her have breakfast without saying, "I'm so disappointed by the way that you have breakfast," then you start to kind of tame that wild side to someone and you make them obedient. So, of course, he didn't see Kier in her because he himself took that out of her. He criticized her and treated her in a way where she became an obedient puppet, basically.
That's a perfect point. It's like Kier used to see James used to see Kier inside of her. Now he's all kind of upset and he doesn't love his own daughter now because he doesn't see that in her anymore. And it's like, yeah, you're 100% right. He's the reason why he's not seeing that in her anymore. You are the reason. You're the one who stomped that out of her in terms of molding her into what you thought would be this perfect CEO to come down the road, this perfect heir apparent. And yeah, by doing so, you ended up kind of taking what a piece of what Helena was, or at least a piece of Helena that you saw that you were proud of. And yeah, it's just, it's again just another example of James literally being the worst parent in existence. The guy's just a fucking wreck. He's a menace. He's an absolute menace. Love is the difference in Severance. I mean, if anything, it does paint a very interesting picture to how love is depicted on a show like this, with the whole kind of situation between Innies and Outies, who has the ultimate right to love, who doesn't. That's why I really enjoyed the episode of The Dinner with Irving, Bert, and Fields. And it was super interesting and very nuanced for Fields himself. Out of all the people who would probably have many justified reasons to not like the Innies, considering that his own husband's Innie had an affair with another Innie. So of all the people who would maybe not like Innies, I could totally understand Fields being one of them. But the fact that he just had so much compassion for the Innies, how he feels like they do deserve a chance at love. They are people with souls. It sheds a little bit of a different light on this Innie Outie thing and who ultimately does have a right or not have a right to love. And I kind of think Fields had it right in that regard. I mean, even though these Innies have only half of a life, I mean, they still are human. They might be slaves, but they are still human beings. And, they have a right to kind of experience everything a regular human should. But unfortunately, they just don't have that right because Lumen won't give them that right. But no, it's an interesting one. When it comes to love in the Innie and Outie program, it's very sticky, very complicated.
It makes me think, Sevis. I want you guys to answer this question because that's the perfect question. So Fields was cheated on with an Innie, but he was okay with it. He said, I think that they deserve love. Would you be okay with it if you were cheated on with an Innie? Because we know that Dylan wasn't okay with it. He had a huge problem. Jeremy said that he understood, so I'm guessing that Jeremy would be okay.
No, absolutely not.
So, Sevis, tell us, if you got cheated on with an Innie, would you be more like Dylan or more like Fields?
Oof. Yeah, chat. Very good question there. Where do you guys lay on this? I mean, when it comes to Innie and Outie, if you're Innie had romantic relations with someone that wasn't your wife, wasn't your spouse, how would you guys feel? Would you look at that as full blown cheating? Would you look at it a little bit more like Fields does? Or would you kind of have the same view that Dylan does as well? Yeah, interesting choice. Interesting question, I guess you could say. For me personally, I would consider it cheating. I mean, yes, it's two different personalities, but you're sharing the same body. I mean, I know it gets super sticky, but if I was an Outie and I found out my Innie did something like that, I would be disappointed and I would be upset. Or if I was married to somebody who was an Innie and who had an Innie and an Outie, and their Innie did that, I would probably be a little bit hurt too. So I can understand that. And yeah, I do kind of think it is cheating for sure. I
So
think it's
Dylan, you would be
I'd
more like
probably go
Dylan.
with Dylan. Yeah, I think I'd lean a little more into Dylan's reaction. As altruistic and as kind as Fields was trying to be, and I appreciate that from him. But if it was just me personally, yeah, I'd have a problem with it. I think I'd have a problem with it for sure.
And speaking of love, I see that we have a super chat. Um,
Oh,
Jennifer Grover loves you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Jennifer Grover, for $2. I very much appreciate that. That is incredibly generous. And I love each and every one of you in the chat as well. Love diving into these topics, love having these discussions, love hanging out with each and every one of you, and very much appreciate that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Oh, I see a second one as well. Jeremy, I'm really loaded right now. Well, I hope you're having fun. I hope wherever you are safe and you're not getting ready to drive anywhere. Have fun, but definitely be safe. And thank you so much again, Jennifer, for the $2. I very much appreciate the support. That's incredibly
That sounds
generous.
like the best time to get loaded and then listen to Jeremy's live. You're having the best time, Jennifer. If I wasn't here, I would be doing the same.
Well, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Very much appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, enjoy their body equally. It's cheating. Yeah, we got some people think it is cheating. Some people think it isn't cheating. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, I think it's cheating, not fault, and it's not cheating. And again, you can definitely make that argument. At least, I mean, the Outie didn't choose to do anything. The Outie themselves never broke any vow, never cheated, but the Innie did. So I can understand both arguments for sure. Those two things aren't equal. For Dylan, it's his same partner for both Innie and Outies. That's actually a good point. Yeah, for Dylan, it's his Outie and his Innie are both kind of with the same person. Even though Dylan very much looks at this as an egregious kind of mistake, it is kind of similar in that regard. Although it's kind of similar for Bert as well, because it was both Outie and Innie Bert who both were with Outie and Innie Irving, kind of the same partner. Although Bert also has Field. So that's muddies those waters a little bit more. So yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying for sure. Emotional cheating hurts more than physical cheating to me. And I think they hurt. I think they would be equally both hurtful, both of them. Because yeah, emotional cheating is cheating. Sometimes you don't need a physical act to take place for it to be cheating, at least in my opinion. Sometimes emotional cheating could maybe even hurt worse, or at least the same amount. I don't know if it would hurt worse for me, but it could potentially hurt the same amount. But yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. But yeah.
Well, I really like the way that you guys are looking at it, Sevis. I like the way that you are noticing that that question is unfair because, in fact, you are correct. Those are different things. One, it's your same wife, so maybe you could come to terms a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
But the other one, it's a whole different person. So part of Fields being understanding is that he can see why the Innie would want to be loved and look for love. But if you're an insane person who is not really understanding like me, I would be like, oh my God, there's a part of you that is not in love with me. I want the sever part and all parts of this person that I'd love to be in love with me. And so I wouldn't be understanding, even though you guys are completely correct. um, they don't have control of that. So it's not really their fault. But still, you know, if you're insane like me, I would be like, no, you like have to be in love with me at all costs.
No, and I can definitely understand that, and like you said, I can definitely understand the the chat bringing that up. How it's kind of it's a hard comparison to make between those two different kind of personalities. Those two different kind of situations are a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, it just gets sticky whenever it comes to love and romance between innies and outies. And is it cheating? Is it not cheating? It's always been an interesting debate, and it's always been something I've always seen the chat, not just the chat, but the fandom in general of Severance has always seemed to be a little bit split on, in terms of some people thinking it is cheating and some people think it isn't. So yeah, that's always an interesting debate, always an interesting topic. But here we go, folks. Innie mark or outie mark, who do you think is better? Would you choose innie mark? Do you think innie mark is better? If you do, hit yes. If you think outie mark is better, then hit the no. I will let that go for another minute or so, and then I will close that poll and we will move on to the next one. So anybody who has not had a chance to get their vote in, now is the time. We got about 1 minute left to cast your vote. Who would you pick, innie mark or outie mark? Is innie mark better? If so, then click on that yes. If you think outie mark is better, then click on that no. What do you guys think? And yeah, a lot of great arguments, a lot of great points that a lot of people in the chat have been making for both innie and outie mark. So I very much appreciate that. These kind of topics do always kind of garner some pretty interesting conversations. So very much appreciate everybody participating in our innie versus outie polling voting tonight. Very much enjoy that. But yeah, we got Quan as I am team outie OG. Hey, nothing wrong with that. If you're team outie, then by all means, let your team flag fly. You have to respect the originals that aren't slaves locked into a building to exist. And again, you know, like I said, it's an interesting kind of predicament, this outie versus innie kind of life that they live. Very, very tough, to say the least. Very tough to see the least. Yes, the big woman still here. Brienne, yes. That was good. That was good. And yeah, we'll definitely dive into some of Brienne's scenes here in a little bit as well. But here we go. Here we go, guys. We are at 56% say yes, innie mark is better, while 44% are choosing outie mark. So at least for this first round, it looks like innie mark is the winner, ladies and gents. Innie mark is the winner. The final tally, as I go to end the poll, is dun dun dun. Final tally tallied up. We have, is innie mark better? 55% of you are saying yes, innie mark is better, while 44% of you are saying no. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. Very, very interesting. That one was close. I expected that one to be kind of close, so it's not too surprising. But yeah, very interesting to see where these things kind of ultimately play out. Who is going to be superior, innie or outie? Awesome, awesome stuff. And as I get
closer than I would have thought.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was closer than you would have thought. Okay, which way did you think it was going to go before the voting started?
Well, I thought we were all going to choose innie mark because the finale was such an episode for him, right? It gave him an opportunity to shine. We got to see a lot of his growth. We spend most of our time with innie mark.
Yeah.
If we think about it, we didn't really see outie mark all that much. So I thought that for sure we were all gonna vote innie. Very surprising, yeah.
That's I did have a feeling innie mark would win, but I wasn't quite sure how the margin would be. I was expecting it to be a little bit kind of close like it was, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just feel like you said, we spent so much more time with innie mark. I feel like innie mark and Helly's relationship, and again, it's just my personal bias, but I do kind of prefer innie mark and Helly a little bit more than I do outie mark and Gemma. Even though outie mark and Gemma have a great relationship too, they had such a tragic story that they went through, and you can really feel for them. So I definitely understand both sides. But for me, I think I've always preferred innie mark and Helly. I feel like they've had the really good relationship. Really good relationship. Awesome stuff. All right, now before I get ready to pull up the second one, looks like we have another super chat from Jennifer Grover. Wow, thank you so much, Jennifer. That's incredibly generous of you for $8. Jeremy, I love this beautiful young lady that you have with you, and I love you, Jeremy. Not inappropriately, but I can see your beautiful heart. Well, thank you so much for that, Jennifer. That's incredibly generous of you. And yes, I absolutely, completely feel the same. PM is an awesome co-host, always has some of the best ideas and is super welcoming to the chat. And yeah, you couldn't ask for a better co-host than someone like PM. So very much agree there. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jennifer, you can love him inappropriately or appropriately. It's up to you.
Yeah, I like keeping things appropriate. That's always good. It's always good to say appropriate, not inappropriate. But that's just me. But that is so generous, so generous. And yes, I mean, yeah, PM is super sweet and super smart, and that's why I love diving into these things with her. Great stuff. Great stuff, chat. Great stuff indeed. All right, let's see who we got next. Up next, we have Helly or Helena. Oof, Helly or Helena. I wonder which way this one's going to go. Big shocker. I wonder which way this one's going to go. But it'll be interesting. Who knows? Maybe we got some secret Helena fans out there. I wouldn't be too surprised if some people maybe sympathize with some of the things that Helena has gone through, being the daughter of James Eagan and being molded and kind of indoctrinated herself in a way ever since she was young into this Lumen cult. But let's see what you guys think. Is Innie Helly better? Is Innie Helly better? Yes or no? So if you guys like Innie, if you guys like the Innie Helly, then definitely click on the yes. If you guys prefer Outie Helena, then of course click on the no. There it is. The poll is up. Ladies and gents, is Innie Helly better? Yes or no? Let's see how this one shakes up. I'm very interested to see how this one shakes up because, again, you know, on the onset, just looking at this, you would think, of course, everybody's going to pick Innie Helly. But I wouldn't be surprised if some people do maybe pick Helena. Again, she's been a little bit of a victim at times herself. She's also been a very big perpetrator, but she's also been a victim at times as well, a victim of this Lumen cult, of this Eagan family cult. So, yeah, this one will be interesting to see where it goes. Excuse me. Yeah. What about you, chat? And what about you, PM, as well? I mean, when it comes to Innie versus Outie, Helly, and Helena, do you have a favorite? And which way do you lean and maybe why?
Well, I know that everybody's going to go Helly, or I'm assuming that everybody's going to want to go Helly. So I will make the case for Elena, right? I don't want her to be left without any help here. I will be her lawyer. So in the podcast, they had Drummond, the actor that plays Drummond, on the podcast, and he explained that Drummond feels very badly for Elena because he has seen the way that she grew up and the way that she was treated. So if you like Drummond, Drummond is with Elena. Number two, look at this cool picture. Look at that face. I mean, super cool. Her father, All City Big Head, has an excellent comment. It's hilarious. But her father is so horrible, and she had to put up with growing up with that father who is always telling her that she is not as good as she was, that she's a fetid muppet. I mean, just imagine that existence. Your father, like, his pet nickname for you is fetid muppet.
It's a tough existence, isn't it? I mean, I can only imagine what it must be like to be born into a family like the Eagans and into this corporate cult that is Lumen. This is tough. I mean, so again, I can understand why some people might sympathize a little bit for Helena. But in terms of the vote's going to be interesting to see. It looks like so far we got around 83% of you are saying Helly is better. 83%, a whopping 83% are going with Helly, while only 17% are picking Helena, which, again, very, very interesting. I mean, I feel like even 17% is higher than I maybe thought it would be, but you never know. You never know which way these things are going to go. But let us know in the chat. What do you guys think? Why do you prefer Helly? Why do you, if some of you have voted Helena, which a few of you have at least, why do you guys prefer Helena? What do you guys think about the Innie versus Outie when it comes to Helly and Helena? Awesome stuff. I feel bad for Helena. She can't win even at the 2. I mean, again, you can, in some instances, you can kind of understand why some people might sympathize with Helena. Again, I mean, like Quan said it great earlier. I mean, she can't even win when it comes to her own father. Even her own father is calling her a fetid freaking moppet. And, you know, straight up admitting that he doesn't love her. He doesn't see Kier in her anymore. And you can kind of, again, you can understand why some people might feel a little bad for Helena after everything she's been through. Even Helena preferred Helly. She was jealous of her. And that's a very good point as well, Kelly. And that is pretty much why we see Helena pretend to be Helly for so long. I don't think there was any kind of strategic plan behind that, even if that was the excuse she used. I think Helena genuinely just wanted to live Helly's life for a little bit to see what that freedom felt like. Because yes, even Helena preferred Helly's life over her own. Very good point.
Yeah, and I do see the Seves know all. The chat is the judge after all. But Seba makes an excellent comment where, yes, you are 100% correct. We cannot forget that Elena did that horrible thing to Mark where she took advantage of any Mark pretending to be Helly. And so I withdraw my case, take her straight to jail. It's fine. I don't want to be her lawyer anymore. What she did was horrible. And I can't believe that I forgot about that.
That is, I must say, I did forget about that for a split second. Yeah, Seba, you bring up a very good point. I mean, when you look at some of the egregious acts that a lot of these characters have done to each other, you know, I struggle to think, like, what has been the most devious act we've seen perpetrated on Severance up until this point? Which act is the most despicable? And there's very much an argument to be made for Helena having the most despicable act on the entire series, where in one fell swoop, she takes consent away from 3 different people in one fell swoop. One single act of her being selfish, wanting to feel something that was never hers to begin with. She is violating and taking consent away from 3 people all at once, from Innie and Outie Mark, as Innie Mark never would have slept with her if he knew that that was Helena, and also taking the consent away from Helly herself, as Helly had no choice in this encounter either. So yeah, I mean, you do bring up a good point. When choosing Helly or Helena, it is important to remember what Helena really did. And again, she might be a victim in some areas. She certainly is. She's a victim of her father. She's a victim of this lumon kind of wheel that just keeps turning and crushing everybody beneath it. Yet at the same time, she's also a very big perpetrator in her own right. What she did was despicable, incredibly selfish, and just wrong on so many fronts. So you do bring up a good point. Mm-hmm. Helena does have that black spot on her that she'll probably never be able to wash away, for sure. For sure. I feel as much empathy for Helena as I do for Miss Wong. This doesn't make me dismiss her guilty ways. And that's a pretty good way to put it, Ghost MKC. I could kind of see that a little bit. Yeah, where you can have empathy for her, but that doesn't exactly excuse all the villainy that she has done. So no, I think that's a really good way of put it. You can have empathy while also not excusing the just dastardly deeds that some of these Outies have portrayed, or that Helena herself has perpetrated. So yeah, that's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. I think Helly and Helena want the same thing. And I do, Wayne. I think you're right. I think that's something that Helena herself finally realized this season when she actually watches Helly and Mark kissing on the surveillance footage. I do feel like for the first time, Helena kind of wanted something for herself, as opposed to always being this kind of corporate pawn that is being moved all over the board by her father, by Drummond, by Natalie, by the board. And, you know, she's clearly being controlled by this company, by this family. She doesn't have her own agency, really, for the most part. So yeah, I can definitely see that they do kind of want the same thing. It seems like they both want freedom. They both want the opportunity to love. It does seem like Helena genuinely wanted to experience that connection that Helly felt with Mark, a connection that she had probably never felt in her entire life, as pursuing her own heart was probably not something she was even allowed to do. So yeah, at the end of the day, I get the feeling that Helly and Helena, they probably do want similar things, if not the same, for sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm. I already put in my vote, and you Sevis are completely correct. Once again, I voted for Innie, Helly, because of what you guys brought up. We just cannot. I mean, at this point, who is choosing Elena? I want to know if you chose Elena, why?
Yeah.
At this point.
Yep. Yeah, and again, everybody's choice is completely theirs to make. But yeah, if you guys are going with Helena, that is totally cool. Let us know why. What is it about Helena that you guys are seeing? Is it the victim that is it everything that Helena has been through, as she is a victim in some manners as well. Like she's very much a victim of her own father, of this company. You can understand her desperation and her need to feel human affection that leads her to make the move that she make. Yes, it's super despicable. It's super wrong on so many fronts what she did, but you definitely get the reasoning behind it. She wanted to feel a real human connection, which is something she had never felt before, probably in her life. So yeah, it's that's interesting. Anyone who went with Helena, let us know why is Helena appealing to you guys? Yeah, Helena ordered Irv to be killed. Oof. He came in and kissed her thinking she was Helly. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Very true. I would tell him if he wants to see Kier to go F a goat. Yes. Yeah, James dies from shock and leaves the company to Helly. James was not looking too pleased at the end of this finale. That's for sure. Like he was verklempt. He was very verklempt indeed. Very verklempt. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Let's see. 81%. We have 81% have chosen Helly is better, while 19% of you are going with Helena. So again, pretty one-sided, but there's at least a few people that voted for Helena. So that's interesting.
I'm surprised that she has any, really, at this point.
At this point, I am. I'm kind of surprised that she even has 19%. That's high. That is very, very high. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Nobody forced Mark to have a sec. Helena S.A. Mark, again, she did. And not just Mark, but both Marks and Helly, in a sense, all kind of got violated in a way. Yeah, she is a perpetrator. Absolutely. How many people's deaths has Helena been responsible for? Asked James Buckley. I mean, that's a good question. How many deaths did she have a hand in facilitating, I guess? And who knows how many that came even before the show started. This Innie Severance program has been around for 12 years, and she's been around for she's been around for all of those years. So yeah, how many Innie lives have been extinguished because of Helena? Maybe countless for all we know. Very good point.
And I do see that the Sevis are demanding that we take a look at Karate of Comedy's comment as to why he chose Elena.
Ooh, okay. Where's this? Let's find it.
They say it's a good one, and the Sevis always know.
Oh, right here. I think this is the one. Maybe this is the one you guys are speaking of. But Karate of Comedy says, 1, she's got money. 2, she was cool and funny on the expedition. 3, daddy issues are good. Oh my God. Hilarious. But I mean, I will say this at least. I agree with number 2. She was pretty funny on the Orpo, like laughing about Dieter Eagan and his penis melting and all this. Like she was kind of funny. I will agree with 2. The money and the daddy issues, I don't know. But you can at least admit that she was funny. She was pretty funny for sure. For sure.
At least you are
can feel bad for him.
Karate of Comedy. At least he's super honest about what he likes and what he cares about.
That's a good point. Honesty is always the best policy. So I do applaud your honesty, Karate of Comedy. That's very much true. I echo PM sentiment for sure. For sure. Seba says you could feel bad for Helena, but can't forget some of the stuff she has done, and that's kind of where I'm at as well, Seba. And I think that's a good way to put it. Where I do sympathize for Helena in some areas, but yeah, you just can't forget the things that she has done. So while I can sympathize with her position in some cases, I can't forgive her. I can't forgive the things she has done, especially to Marks and Helly, for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. We got another 5 from Jennifer Grover. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for the 5. Good night, Jeremy, and the beautiful young lady and the chat. XO, love to all. Well, thank you so much for that, Jennifer Grover. That is incredibly generous of you, and you've been super supportive of the channel. I cannot thank you enough. And yes, I hope you have a great night. Stay safe, have fun, and thank you once again. Very much appreciate you.
Thank you so much. We hope that you had fun. And let's do I'm a Killer, Mr. Milkshake, or one of the new funny clips that we have from the finale for her.
That is a great idea. Let's do another one of these
Maybe
funny
the running
clips.
one?
We do have the running clip after all. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, you see the look on Dylan's face after he runs out. He's like, what the fuck's going on here? It's like, I feel like that look on Dylan's face at the end is the look of, damn, this place gets weirder every day. This place gets stranger every day. Great stuff. Great stuff. All right, let's end this poll now. I have a feeling poor Helena is not going to catch up to our Helly. It looks like Helly is indeed the victor of this second poll. 83. Well, let's end it officially, and let's see where it's at. Let's see where it's at. And there we go, guys. There we go. Is Innie Helly the better version? Yes, 82% of you are saying yes, and 17% of you are saying no. There it is. There it is. Sorry, Helena, but Helly is the victor on this one. And again, I do agree. And thank you so much for that, Susan. I love how Jeremy knows which clip we need to see. We need to see again. Well, I mean, sometimes you just need to play a clip more than once because it's just worthy of it, you know. But no, thank PM for reminding me, you know, for the perfect timing right there. Absolutely. Did anyone notice the pregnant man statue next to the pregnant woman statue in the birthing center? Yes, we did. We actually talked a little bit about that last night during our after show. We did an after show right after the episode ended, and we were looking at that. And PM, you had an interesting theory that of what that could potentially represent. That maybe is Lumen even working on some way to allow males to get pregnant on top of females. Like, it's very strange that they have this representation of this male pregnant statue here. So yeah, I always wondered, you know, like, what the heck is that for? But I mean, your theory is as plausible as anything else I've seen. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe they were working on that sort of technology, as they're always trying to innovate in a way that should not be innovated. That would make sense with what they do in line. However, I do want to acknowledge the Sevis. A lot of the Sevis said maybe he's not pregnant. Maybe it was just like Drummond, or he has like a
maybe it's
belly,
just
and it's like a fun thing. Like, she's pregnant, so he's holding his own belly. So I do want to acknowledge that is one of the theories that the Sevis have.
Yeah, I mean, that's very possible. Maybe it was just a fat man. Like, you guys might be right. That is very possible. It could have just been a big old dude, like Drummond. And which is, I mean, we're watching another show currently right now, the 9 Bodies in a Mexican Morgue, which the actor who plays Drummond is also in. And we kind of knew, we kind of, I don't want to spoil anything, but we kind of recognized Drummond from a mile away in a certain scene because of his big gut, because of his kind of his stature. It makes him stand out among the pack. And anybody who has not checked out 9 Bodies in a Mexican Morgue, definitely check that show out if you haven't already. It's on the MGM Plus network, the same network that From comes on, and it's really good. It's like an interesting mix of Lost with a dash of Yellow Jackets and maybe even like a little dash of Twin Peaks because of the kind of murder mystery that's mixed in. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out Nine Bodies in a Mexican Morgue if you are a Lost fan in particular. It's been pretty good so far. I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying that show. I think they're only 3 episodes in?
Yeah.
I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Yeah, check that one out, guys, if you haven't already. All right. Next up, we have another Innie versus Outie showdown. And for this one, this will be an interesting one. I have a feeling which way I think this one might go, but you never know. Up next, we have who is superior? Who do you choose? Innie versus Outie. Dylan. When it comes to Dylan himself, do you prefer the Innie? Do you prefer the Outie? Let me cue up this poll real quick. Is Innie Dylan better? I'll always phrase it, is the Innie better? That way you guys know all throughout the night, if you do like the Innie, all you got to do is hit yes. If you prefer the Outie, you'll have to hit no. Every single poll will be in that same kind of format. So let us know, what do you guys think? Is Innie Dylan better? Yes or no? Do you prefer Innie Dylan or Outie Dylan? The poll is now up. Who are you going to choose? Because again, when it comes to Innie and Outie Dylan, I feel like it's at least a little bit of a closer match than Innie and Outie Helly. Like Innie and Outie Helly was always going to be very one-sided, but Innie and Outie Dylan, I feel like there's a little bit more to kind of defend where Outie Dylan is concerned, especially looking at this finale. That letter that he wrote to Innie Dylan, it was a very nice letter. It was very thoughtful. Like he finally understanding Innie Dylan's perspective and what it must be like to be him, and how he's like, I can't blame you for falling in love with her. I mean, look at her. So I did kind of enjoy almost, it felt like a little bit of a reconciliation between Innie and Outie Dylan, where they were kind of at war. They were kind of very much at odds with each other. But that letter that Outie Dylan composed and sent to his Innie, it was good. I really enjoyed that scene. See, again, it felt like these two Dylans were reconciling a little bit, or reconciling at least to the extent that they can, as much as they could at least. But no, that was an interesting scene, and it definitely painted Outie Dylan in a little bit of a better light as opposed to before that scene, because we didn't learn a whole lot about Outie Dylan. And then a little bit more as we get into season 2, we start to realize that Outie Dylan's, he's a little bit of a fuck up, as Innie Dylan would put it. He doesn't really have he's not really good at holding a job. He's got all these kind of ideas and these entrepreneurial things that he's trying to do that always fail. So you definitely had the sense that Outie Dylan was just a more messed up version than Innie Dylan. But again, that letter that Outie Dylan composed, it definitely won him a lot of points, in my opinion, in terms of painting him in a little bit of a better light. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I still got to go with Innie Dylan. Innie Dylan will probably still catch my vote. But what about you guys? And of course, UPM, where do you stand when it comes to Innie or Outie Dylan?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm going to choose the Innie. However, I need to make a case for the Outie. Somebody has to help these Outies. So when it comes to, right, all opinions are valid. When it comes to the Outie Dylan, we do have to kind of remember when we were having the conversation about Dylan, Innie, and Outie, somebody made a point that kind of stuck out to me. One of the Sevis said, of course, that the Innie version of Dylan is happy hearing about his wife and his children, because it's the Outie version of Dylan that deals with the bad moments that his children have, with the bad moments that any marriage has, with the everyday life, right? And so, because he's only hearing about the positive things, the Innie gets to romanticize what life is like, being married and having 3 children, I believe they have, while the Outie he has to deal with the reality of being a parent to 3 children, having a marriage, the jobs, right? The situation that they're in, and how that can turn somebody bitter. And not necessarily that he doesn't love his life, but maybe he's in a routine, right? I remember somebody making that point, and so I could definitely see how Audi may look bad to us, but people that are in that situation, potentially they go through phases. And maybe he's in this phase where he's super stressed. And so therefore he can be as loving or as kind, right? So that is my case for Audi. However, I heard something in the podcast that made me just feel so bad for Innie Dylan. Um, Ben Stiller said in the podcast that the storyline for Innie Dylan was the storyline of a relatable person who gets involved with somebody who is in a committed relationship, and how they get involved with this person, and yet that person is committed to somebody else, and how that transpires and they move on. And that to me made me feel so bad for any Dylan, and for that sort of storyline where there's a marriage, and because they're having trouble, this person gets involved with somebody else. They have feelings, they let this person get illusioned with the idea of being with them, and then they just move on with their partner, with their husband, with their wife, and
Yeah.
leave the wreckage of this third person that did not need to be involved, but they just leave them a total wreck just because they were having trouble in the committed relationship, which is not that committed anymore. So when I heard that, it just made me feel so bad for any Dylan. So I have to go with him.
That's a really good point. That's actually an extremely good point. And you can kind of sympathize for that where, yeah, I mean, because Gretchen was very much, she was very much kind of, a willing participant in this this relationship that they were cultivating. It's not like Innie Dylan was just kind of crushing on her and she was kind of, rebuking his advances. She was very much advancing herself too. She was very much sending the signal to Innie Dylan that she liked him as much as he liked her. So yeah, to see that, to see them engage in that, and then to all of a sudden have Gretchen come here and just kind of pull the rug out from underneath him. I can understand Ben Stiller trying to kind of craft the character in that kind of light, because that does make kind of sense. That is kind of what happened at the end of the day, where Innie Dylan went so far as to make his own little paper ring, get down on one knee to ask her to marry him. I can give you a life. I can make you happy. I make you happy. He doesn't, kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, the whole time, at first, they're both willing participants in this budding romance. And then all of a sudden, Gretchen just backs out, leaving Innie Dylan devastated, to the point where he wants to just give it all up, to the point where he literally wants to quit and just end his existence. So yeah, I can see that perspective for sure. Definitely makes you feel a little worse for Innie Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And to that point, she was the one, the Sevis are bringing up everything with Gretchen. If you ever do anything, don't let the Sevis see you, because they are bringing up all the facts on Gretchen, and you're right. It was Gretchen who kissed Innie Dylan. Innie Dylan only asked for a hug. He said, "Oh, can we try the hug?" And he asked her, "Can we?" She could have said no. She could have said, "No, I can't." But not only did she hug him, she's the one that kissed him. So she's the one that advanced this situation into something that went too far, right? To the point where now he thinks that they are in a relationship, that they're together. And it was Gretchen who has the responsibility to both people to tell Innie, no, this is not what it is, and to her husband. It's Gretchen who is in the wrong here. Even though we want to pit Innie and Outie against each other, the Sevis are right. I tend to agree with you guys. It's Gretchen who is the villain here.
I mean, you guys make a very good point. And again, as PM says, the chat, you guys always know all. You always have some very good perspectives on these things. That's why I love these discussions with this chat in particular. You guys always bring awesome perspectives to these things. But yeah, no, you're 100% right. If it comes to who is the most guilty party here, yeah, a good argument could be made that Gretchen is the guilty party here in terms of what she did. She kind of is leading both of these versions of Dylan on to the point where she knows she's going to have to choose one or the other and break the other's heart. So yeah, I can definitely see that. And again, the chat, always knows what's up. The chat always knows what's up. Good stuff. Because yeah, I mean, he's just, can we try the hug again? And that was such a funny and super cute and super innocent scene. He's like, do you think we could try the hug again? And yeah, it goes right in for the kiss kind of thing. So yeah.
And she could have said no. She could have said absolutely not. Like, I'm just here so that you don't lose your job because of the children, right? And I get it. A lot of the Sevies are saying maybe she was lonely. Her marriage is not going well.
Maybe.
Well, that's understandable. That is not when you involve a third person.
Yes.
To get their feelings involved, to make them give up on their friends. Innie didn't just get involved with Gretchen. He stopped helping his friends.
That's a good point.
His family, the people that mean something to him.
Yeah.
It was until the finale when Gretchen has made it clear that she doesn't want to be with him that he goes back to his friends.
That's actually a very good point. I mean, loneliness you can kind of understand, but she has a husband, and it's not like their relationship is super, super bad. I mean, they still work together. They're still raising these kids together, and you can definitely tell that they still love each other. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Gretchen she really just looks at Innie Dylan and just saw a version of him that he used to be, like the old you. And yeah, she kind of just wanted that for herself. So again, I mean, I can understand her being a little bit lonely, but to involve Innie Dylan the way that she did, I think you bring up a very good point, PM. It was still probably the wrong move to do. I think the better move in that instance would have been for her to go up to her husband and kind of just talk to him and tell her how she's feeling. And maybe that will help Outie Dylan kind of snap out of this funk that he's maybe in, because she did say, Innie Dylan reminds me of how you used to be. So at some point, Outie Dylan wasn't always this kind of messed up. He was maybe a little more like Innie Dylan at one point, a little more outgoing, a little more funny, a little happier. And, all the things that Gretchen is seeing in Innie Dylan used to exist in Outie Dylan. So no, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Again, I think you guys are right mostly for in this instance where maybe the most guilty party is Gretchen herself. Might just be how it is. I do kind of agree with that. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. She stopped going to that. And again, I mean, even in the beginning of the season, she's lying to her husband and telling him she didn't go there. Oh, I didn't go to Loom, and they wouldn't let me see you today. When really she was there kissing him for the first time. So yeah, Gretchen's been kind of devious. Gretchen's been kind of manipulative. She has been, showing questionable decision-making skills, if nothing else. So yeah, you guys bring up a good point. That's an
excellent point. She said, I didn't see him, and she was there kissing. Not only did she see him, but she's the one that advanced and kissed him.
Very good point. Very good point. Very good point. Ah, man, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, let's see. Where is the poll at right now? Do you prefer Innie Dylan or Outie Dylan? 79% of you. Wow, 79% of you are saying Innie Dylan is better. Let's end this one and see what the final tally is. But I had a feeling Innie Dylan would win this one. I just wasn't sure how much he would win this one by. But yeah, this is a little bit of a wider margin than I thought. But then again, I guess it's not too surprising. Innie Dylan does have a lot of fans. A lot of fans Innie Dylan does have. Good stuff. Good stuff. So the final tally is 79% for Innie Dylan, 20% for Outie Dylan. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. All right. All right, let's see what we got. Now, of course, before we get into the next one, I think it's time for another levity clip, another one of my favorite scenes from this season 2 finale, and one of the more comical scenes, probably the funniest scene, like just pure comedy. This was probably the scene that had me laughing the most when I saw it last night. And that, of course, is Mark versus the nurse. Oh
Did
my
she say?
God.
Did she say "F your mother"?
Step off, fucko. I love it. I love everything about that
God.
sequence. It is so good. It's just that part had me dying in tears. That was the funniest part of the episode for me. So funny that I'm gonna play it again. No,
That's on her.
no,
She's like,
no. Oh my God.
and he was pressing it. You were right.
He's
He was
pressing
pressing
it.
it. So if he would.
He's trying to shoot her the whole time. He's sitting there pressing the trigger. You can hear the click of the trigger being pulled, and he's sitting there. He's trying to pull this trigger on her, and she's just like, no, 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 yes, yes, yes. Oh my God. I don't know, whoever came up with that sequence, just bravo. And bravo to Adam Scott and the actress. Her name escapes me now. I know her name, but of course I can't think of it now. Bravo to them for the performance they put on in that scene. It was just beautifully played. And it's interesting coming right off the scene where he literally just got done killing Drummond by mistake. He's covered in all this blood. And next thing you know, you have this just completely crazy, nonsensical scene right after something so serious like that. That's the perfect time for a good moment of comedic levity right then and there when people aren't expecting it, seeing this just hilarious kind of weird scene, this weird sequence play out between these two people at the best time possible.
Hilarious. I just love the fact that she was so brave. When I was watching, I was like, she's got some guts. She's like, nah, nah. I would have just been like, whatever. I'm not gonna lose my life.
Yeah, I'm not dying for you. I am not dying for you.
No.
It was great. Like, this was so great seeing this play out. And again, just seeing the looks on both of their face. Like, no, no, no. And Mark just, yes, yes, yes. That's the fun. This is the funniest one right here. I tried to get some stills from the scene just to have a few visuals. This was the one that had me laughing the most. Her hands just out like, no, no, no. And yeah, she is super defiant in this moment. Like, she's super defiant. She's not afraid. Like, she's totally standing up to him as he's sitting there trying to pull this trigger nonetheless. Like, no, 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 fuck you, fuck you. This was great. This was so great. This was such a good sequence. And then this might have been the funniest part, as she's literally running away and he's chasing her. He's chasing her as she's running away. As he's still trying to pull this trigger, chasing her down this hallway.
Look at his face.
Step off, fucko. Oh my God. Yeah, she just runs away screaming, fuck you. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, my stomach hurts, guys. Hilarious.
Oh, hilarious. And yes, luckily for her, it was only one bullet, and not even a bullet. These guns don't even fire bullets. They fire these little bolts. As you can kind of see it coming out of the tip of the gun here. These are a standard kind of tool that unfortunately, most farms use even to this day to kind of put livestock out of their misery fast, whether it's a cow farm, a goat farm, any kind of farm. You mostly see these in cow farms where they consider this to be the most humane way to kill a cow, just kind of one quick bolt to the forehead, which again, it's a super quick and clean death. I can understand them wanting it to be quick and clean, but this is actually a real device that they do use on many, many farms nowadays to put an animal out of its misery super fast, where it doesn't fire a bullet or a projectile or anything. It just fires this, like this 4 to 5 inch kind of metal bolt that fires right into the brain and then is supposed to retract right back. But yeah, luckily it wasn't a projectile where it's loaded, because Mark would have killed this poor lady. She would have been done. He would have shot her right in the back. Right in the back, he would have shot her.
It just like reminds me so much of like the power of attraction, you know. There was a hype, Sevis, I know you're gonna remember this, where the book The Secret was all the rage and
Mhm.
talking about the law of attraction, of assumption, right? And when I saw this clip, it made me think of it. She was about to die and she's like, no, no, like it's not gonna happen. And it didn't happen. It totally worked for her.
Totally worked. Totally worked. No, no, I'm not dying today. And she didn't. She got out. Um, and yes, James Buckley, exactly like No Country for Old Men. The one that we have in the one they have in No Country for Old Men, that was like one of the first earliest models of this technology back in like the 70s or 80s. This is kind of what they look like nowadays, a little bit more modern, but yes, same premise, pretty much the same thing. So anybody who has ever seen that movie, No Country for Old Men, the weapon that Javier Bardem uses to kill all of his victims, that's one of those cattle prod things where it's meant to kind of just put them out of their misery super fast. Very pretty much the same thing to this. So yeah, if you've seen No Country for Old Men, then you've seen the mechanism behind the technology for sure. For sure. Yeah, she screamed Dr. Mauer and his slow ass comes running around the corner. He did, she did, and he did. That's very true. Very true. But yeah, I love this still of her just running away, and Mark just screaming at the top of his lungs with his, pointing this gun at her, just chasing after her. Oh my God, this was such a good sequence. Such a good sequence. Oh my God, I can't get enough of
So
it.
insane.
It's
That's
so
insane.
hilarious. It's
I love the
absolutely
interaction though. I want to do that to someone. Just like scream, no.
it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, I love her just standing there. No, no, I am not giving you what you want. I refuse. Pull the trigger. I dare you. Kind of thing. I gotta hand it to her. She was brave. A lot braver than Drummond. Drummond caved super quick when that gun got, pointed at him. He was, ready to do anything Mark wanted at that point, but she stood right up to that gun.
Yeah. I'm gonna try that at Trader Joe's. I'm gonna cut in line.
I bet it'll work. I bet it'll work. Good stuff. Absolutely good stuff. Well, good. Well done. All right, let's get to the next Innie versus Outie, shall we? Let's get to the next one. And up next, we have, of course, Irvings. Now, this one might be a little bit tougher because I feel like both Innie and Outie Irving, or neither Innie or Outie Irving, has really done anything bad, really. Like, both of these characters have been pretty steadfast, pretty altruistic. Now, you definitely can make an argument that we've spent a lot more time with Innie Irving than we have with Outie, but Outie Irving seems to be a really good guy. He doesn't seem to be, and that's one thing we've seen about a lot of the characters on the show. Their Innies and their Outies sometimes tend to be kind of different from one another, where they are just different mentality, a different kind of moral compass. But one thing that we notice about the Irvings is they're pretty similar. At least they seem to be pretty similar, both Innie and Outie. So this one should be interesting to see how this vote goes. This one should be interesting. Who is better? Is Innie Irving better? Is Innie Irving better? Yes or no? So if you prefer the Innie version, click on that yes. If you prefer the Outie version of Irving, then click on that no. Which one do you guys prefer, Innie or Outie? This is a tough one.
And you know what I was thinking when I was making this? I was like, there is a third option. I'm a killer, Mr. Milkshake. He said that was Innie remembering Audie's training. So that in itself is like a merge of both of them. Who is
like the reintegrated version? What it would look like?
Yes. Yeah. Because those are not skills that Innie had. We never saw Innie act that way. Those are definitely Audie's skills in Innie's body, right? So that's the version that I like. Who, I'm a killer, Mr. Milkshake. That's the one.
You bring up a really good point. Like that version of Irving is maybe what Irving would look like if he did go through reintegration himself. Yeah, because we have even heard the actor John Turturro say in an interview what you just mentioned, that the only reason Innie Irving was able to uncover Helena, the only reason he was able to do everything he did in that episode, because he felt his Outie's training kicking into him. It was, and again, season 2 definitely dives a lot into what does and doesn't transcend the severance barrier. At least in this episode, the training of Outie Irving transcended the severance barrier to the point where Innie Irving felt that training and used that training his Outie has to uncover Helena. So that's a very good point. I mean, that might be the ultimate end-all, be-all, best version of Irving. The Irving in episode 4. This Irving right here.
Irving, stop this! She's a fucking mole!
What are you doing?
I'm gonna kill her, Mr. Milkshake!
I'm gonna kill her, Mr. Milkshake!
Mr. Milkshake. She's
good stuff. Let's see. Now, this one's a little closer. We got so far, is Innie Irving the better version? Do you like Innie Irving or Outie Irving? We have 57% are saying Innie version, and 43% of you are saying Outie version. So at least his Outie's getting a little bit more votes, a little bit closer than some of our previous matchups. But yeah, I gotta say, this is a tough one for me. But because I loved how their story ended in season 2. I feel like their story ended in a very interesting and satisfying way for me, to the point where I guess I wouldn't be too mad if they never brought Irving back. I mean, yes, part of me does still want to know who is he talking to on the other end of those phone booth calls. That is something that has still been left unanswered. But I guess I wouldn't be too mad if we never got that answer, just considering how good I thought their story was, the way it ended in season 2. But then you look at season 1 and the journey that Innie Irving goes on, how he starts off as this kind of super kind of indoctrinated, kind of Lumon and Kier loyalist. He's incredibly loyal to Lumon, does everything by the book, knows all of the handbooks back and forth like the back of his hand. Like he really was your model Lumon employee. But then slowly but surely, he starts to change. He meets Bert, he falls in love, and he starts to realize, wait a minute, there's a darker side to this company. This company maybe isn't this kind of grand thing that I should be worshiping. Maybe I do need to take a closer look at this. And it took him falling in love with Bert to realize that. So we saw a really good evolution from Innie Irving, I felt, where he started off the season as one thing and completely evolved into this other kind of character who was, at the beginning of the season, he's praising Kier and quoting all of his lines. To the end of the season, he's saying, let's burn this place down. It was such an interesting ride that Innie Irving went on. So I don't know, part of me kind of wants to lean Innie Irving. What about you? Innie or Outie?
I mean, it has to be Innie. I'm the biggest fan of I'm a killer, Mr. Milkshake. It has to be Innie. Like, he's iconic. He's an icon. The outfit. I want to be that for Halloween. I'm going to get the Russian hat and I'm going to kill Mr. Milkshake. I hope people get it. Who knows, right? I hear Severance is like super trending, so hopefully people get it. That's going to be my Halloween costume. It has to be Innie. He's an icon. He's the moment. He's a legend.
He is a legend. He is an icon. And you're right. I mean, seeing what Innie Irving does in episode 4 alone, I mean, it's one of the best performances in the entirety of Severance as a show. All of the episodes, what John Turturro did in episode 4, that performance he puts on, it really is one of the most kind of satisfying episodes to watch. And that scene in particular is one of the most satisfying scenes to watch play out, because you do see him kind of just throwing everything on the line, literally sacrificing his life in order to bring Helly back to us, in order to get Helly free from this non-existence she was living, in order to get Helena out of the severed floor. Like, he really did put everything on the line. A completely selfless act. One of the most selfless acts you can commit in this existence, to sacrifice oneself for somebody else. And it was great. I thought it was such a great ending to his Innie character in that moment. And then, yeah, you look at his journey in season 1, how much he evolved, and the beautiful story that developed between him and Bert, which was, I mean, I know that was one of our favorite couples, if not maybe our even favorite couple on the entire show. Like, Bert and Irving were so good together in season 1. But yeah, I think part of me has to lean a little bit more towards Innie, but I like Outie Irving too. Outie Irving hasn't done anything wrong yet up until this point that I've seen to not be liked. He's still likable. He's very likable.
Very likable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the Sebbies are commenting what they're going to be for Halloween. Night Gardener. For Halloween, Sebbies, don't you think Jeremy and I should be the nurse and Mark? I'll dress up as the nurse and you could be Mark. We'll be like,
That would be funny. Yeah, maybe we can do a special Halloween Severance themed stream when Halloween does eventually come around. And yeah, maybe we'll dress up as Nurse and Outie Mark. I'll try and find a cattle gun and everything. Maybe we can do that.
the Kier wax statue. That's a good one.
Ooh, yeah, the Kier wax statue is a good one. That is a good one. I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, you wouldn't think just off the top of your head that Severance would be a show that would have tons of good Halloween costumes, but they kind of do. I mean, I like yours the best. The winter clothing that they have on in episode 4, like shit, I'd wear that on a regular day. It doesn't even have to be Halloween for me to wear that. I'd rock that on a regular freaking winter day here. Shit. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Innie Irv is more of what we love about John Turturro's character. And I think that's a really good way of putting it, Scott Spence. I mean, I feel like we haven't really spent a whole lot of time with Outie Irving to really develop that same connection with him. But we do have that connection with Innie Irving. Like, Innie Irving is the character that we all kind of fell in love with. He's the character that, you know, you think John Turturro and you think about his role here, the first thing you're going to think about is his Innie, probably not his Outie. So no, that's a really good point. I can definitely see that. I mean, he is kind of everything we love about John Turturro's performance is encapsulated in Innie Irving for sure. Yeah, I agree there. Yeah, dress up as the night gardener. I really didn't know who he was talking to on the other phone. And that's the only thing I would be a little bit disappointed with, I guess, if they didn't bring him back. Like, I do still kind of want to know who he was talking to on the other end of that phone. They made a very big point to point that out to us multiple times this season, where it wasn't just one random throwaway phone call. We got 2 pretty clear phone calls, and both time they gave us just enough of the dialogue to know that it was very much all about Lumon, the Severance program. Every time Outie Irving was in that phone booth, he's talking about, they discovered my Innie. I think they're onto my Innie. They found out what my Innie was doing, so they fired me. You definitely, they put enough in to give us as the audience the sense that Irving is communicating with somebody that definitely wants to do Lumon harm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I do see some amazing ideas. How could we forget this? Jen, the teacher, Lorne, and the baby goat. That's the winner.
Yes.
Lorne and the baby goat.
Yes. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Lorne with the goat. Honestly, for me, I mean, it might just be Milchick season 1. Like season 1, Milchick, his outfit in season 1, like he always just had that white shirt on. His hair was he had a little bit more of a fro going on. It was a little bit longer. His hair was in season 1. Season 1 Milchick was just iconic in every single way. I might go as in season 1 Milchick maybe. I like his costume. I like his outfit in that first season. And then you have all of the multitude of different Gemma costumes that you could choose from, all of her different personalities, everything that we've seen from her. There's a lot to choose from there. And then, of course, you have Milchick here in season 2, in the season 2 finale, dressing up like he's the head of the band. Like there's a lot of there's a lot to choose from when it comes to Severance and Halloween costumes. And yeah, the Black Goat Man. Yeah. Super creepy, trippy kind of costume, or Gwendolyn Christie in this finale.
That's the one.
You
That's the
mentioned that the
winner.
other. Yeah, that was the one you mentioned the other night, right? Like you love the suit that she was wearing.
Yeah, I want to be that one. See, I could be the goat lady. You could be baby goat.
I
That
can
would
be
be
the baby
perfect.
goat. I'll be baby goat Emil. You can be Brienne of goats. Brienne of Tarth. You can be the Brienne. Yeah. I'll just be the baby goat. I'll grab a goat mask and that'll be it. There's our Halloween cosplay right there. Set. I will be Emil. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Let's see what else we got. Outie Irv is either talking to her Gabi or someone very close to her. Remember Petey said that there was a group of anti-lumen people. And that's kind of the gist I think a lot of us were getting, that he's contacting some type of resistance group, if not Ragabi's, the one that she's a part of, then another one. We hear this whole mind get mentioned in season 2 where Bert's character mentions this anti-severance, anti-severed kind of group out there that's always protesting and is very much against severance, called Whole Mind. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're maybe a bigger, larger, more organized organization than we originally thought. Maybe they're not just a group of protesters. Maybe they're a little bit more. And yeah, who knows? Maybe Ragabi and Irving are both working with them, or as you mentioned, some other kind of group that wants to take Lumen down. That's kind of the sense that I think a lot of us got from those conversations, that he's talking with some type of rebellion of sorts. And I did always hope that it would be the same one that maybe Ragabi was speaking with as well. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Let's see what else we got. I thought Ragabi was talking with Irv, but now I think Ragabi is just part of the resistance, and so is Carol D. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we do still have a lot of questions out there in terms of who Ragabi herself was also working with. Like, I get the feeling she's not just working by herself. I mean, she definitely probably has allies. Somebody brought up in the chat the other night that they were wondering if Ragabi is maybe working for a rival company, a rival corporation that wants to kind of co-opt the severance technology for themselves, only improve upon it, make it even better, offer a severance chip that also has the option of reversal as well, which is one thing the severance program that Lumen has doesn't offer. It's a fixed procedure. It's a one-time done procedure. You cannot reverse it. And if Lumen or this other company was ever planning on rolling out the severance technology to the general public for them to use in times of, we saw it used for pregnancies. It could be used for other surgeries and procedures that people go through where they don't want to experience the pain of going through it, and they just want to experience the end result. And then, of course, you can reverse the process right afterwards. That would be a possibility. But then again, you're also still killing an Innie. You're bringing an Innie into this world just to reverse it and kill them right afterwards. Although I guess I suppose it wouldn't be killing them, considering you are reintegrating. You're reintegrating the Innie into the Outie, but you're still bringing an Innie into this world just to get yourself out of some pain. There still is some kind of moral dilemma there, even if the technology is being used that way. But yeah, definitely, maybe we'll find out a little bit more. Who is Ragabi working with? Is she working for a rival company? Is she working with a resistance? I mean, whatever resistance and company that she's working for, as we talked about last night, they certainly don't have a very big budget. At the very least, we know they do not have a very big budget. Looking at all of the equipment that Ragabi is using, it's all very kind of hand-me-down technology. We see her having to bang on it all the time just to get it to work. She doesn't seem like she has a whole lot of big funding behind her. Yeah. Not a lot of big funding behind Ragabi.
For sure. She carries it all in that big plastic Walmart tub.
Yeah.
Gallon.
Just dragging it around from reintegration to reintegration. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely get the sense that she does not have a lot of, funding behind her. So it's maybe it's a little hard to believe that there's this big corporation behind her, but I could definitely see her being a part of some kind of resistance, though, if nothing else. Good stuff. Good stuff. But here we go. Looking at this one, we got, is Innie Irving better? We have 58% of you are going with Innie Irving, and 42% of you are going with Outie Irving. Oof, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. I'll give that one more minute or so to see if it changes anyway, because it is one of the closer ones. So anybody, if you have not cast your vote yet, now is the time. Vote on the poll. Who do you prefer, Innie Irving or Outie Irving? Which one do you guys like? Good stuff. Good stuff. Innie Irv was a lumon bootlicker who only decided to help after they took his love away from him. He didn't even stick to the plan during the OTC. We don't know much about Outie Irving, but he has a dog. I pick him. Hey, if that's your reasoning, then there's nothing wrong with that reasoning. I mean, you bring up some valid points that it did take Irving losing his love in order for him to kind of wake up to what lumon really was. And then, yeah, he didn't really follow the plan that much, did he? He kind of just went and did his own thing and looked for Bert. Once he found out that his Outie had all this research on lumon, he thought, fuck this plan. I'm going to find Bert. So no, I can see your point there. And again, Outie Irving does have a dog. So that's extra points right there, too. So I feel you. I am a dog person myself. The show is insanely good. This episode was the best in TV history. Love, 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 except episode Do It, Seth might be my favorite also. I mean, this has been a really good season of television, I feel. That every episode has given us something pretty interesting. One thing I see when I look at Severance is you never really tend to see a whole lot of filler. At least I don't anyway. I don't consider these backstory episodes to be filler at all. Filler is something that doesn't advance the plot. Filler is something that doesn't serve the story. And every single episode, I feel like we have gotten something that serves the story, that serves these characters and their development. So even when we have the episodes where it's only Cobel, just her, and all we see is her backstory and learn a little bit more about her overall background. Even those episodes, I feel, could never really be kind of characterized as filler because you're getting character development. You're learning who Cobel really is. You're learning about some of the trauma and everything that she has been through, which gives us as an audience a better understanding as to why she is the way she is. So for me, when I look at Severance, I feel like they've utilized their screen time as well, if not better than most shows that I've seen in a very long time, where you don't really get a whole lot of filler. Every episode tends to be servicing the plot or the characters in one way or another.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I love that. So Matt introduced the idea in the chat, one of the Sevies, Matt Gilbert, about love, the show being about love and revolution. And I do see comments about nobody ever followed a plan after love, the real code knocks. And that is so true, right? That is what we see, that they have a plan, but all of the innies, once they fall in love, they deviate from the plan. And then it's like, F it, like that was the plan, but now I'm gonna go for what I want. Innie, Dylan does it, right? He gives up on his friends because he falls in love with Gretchen. We have Mark. He has a plan to save Gemma. He goes with Helly. And I think you're 100% correct. Did anybody follow a plan after they fell in love? That's the question. Radar is his own man.
Radar is his own man, yes. That's actually a really good point. I mean, does anybody ever follow a plan to its fruition when love gets thrown into the mix? It really, if anything is going to make you go off script and off plan, it is the love of something. And I think, and Matt Gilbert has a pretty interesting comment here that I do totally agree with. The show is about love and revolution. Irv and Mark both became rebel revolutionaries because of love. And that is a theme that we keep seeing resonate on the show more and more and more, where love is actively making these characters grow. It's making these characters, it's challenging them. It's forcing them to become something that they probably normally never would have become otherwise. Some of the Outies and the Innies both. So yeah, the show is very much, love is very much a huge part of this show and what these characters are going through and how much it has changed them, how much it wakes them up to certain realities that they didn't realize around them this whole time. Like Irving finally waking up to what lumon really is. Mark becoming this revolutionary revolutionary when, because of love. So no, I do agree with that sentiment. I think that is a huge part of the show and has always been a huge part of the show. Love changes people. It changes you into something you maybe wouldn't have been otherwise.
Yeah, Jen, the teacher, makes an excellent comment. She is the teacher. She always teaches us the best things.
Oh
But
yeah.
love is transcendence. And a lot of the Sevis are loving that comment. If I completely agree. If you have ever been fortunate enough to fall in love, um, real love, you could see that. You could see why you would change a plan, why you would
Yeah.
make the decision that Mark made, where it's like not the best decision. You're running around the hallway. You're only going to get maybe what, 5 minutes until they catch you. It's not the best decision, right? You're putting your life in danger. But if you
Mhm.
have ever been fortunate enough to be in love, love is transcendence. I completely agree.
It is. I mean, it is transcendence, and it transcends so many different things. Love is probably the most powerful emotion that any human can ever experience. I know someone could maybe make the argument of trauma and guilt and loss, but I truly think something like love, like real love, is probably one of the strongest things anyone will ever feel in their lifetime. Like real, true love. And yeah, it does. It transcends everything, and we're seeing how much it could just completely changes some of these characters, and that's always been a huge core of the show. So yeah, I 100% agree with both Matt Gilbert and Jen, the teacher here, both. I mean, great comments, because yeah, it's 100% true. It's a huge part of what this show is seeing what love does to these people, having never experienced it before. And even Outie Irving says that at the very end of him and Bert's story, where I've never felt this before. I've never been loved by anyone before, is what he tells Bert when they're at the train station. And Bert asks him, how does it feel? And he doesn't even know. He doesn't even know how it feels, because it's still something that's so new for him. It's and it does. Love changes you. It changes you into a different person, usually for the better. And yeah, that is a huge part of what the show is. Absolutely. So yeah, extra points for Matt Gilbert and Jen. Great comments, guys. Really great comments.
But we have to acknowledge a lot of the Sevis are sharing their experience of love hurting. And we do have to
Yes,
acknowledge that love is not all
it can.
amazing and
It's
awesome.
yes. Yeah.
Love can destroy. And Peter Orchard Studios, you put it perfectly. Love that is not mutual is a destructive force.
Yeah.
Indeed. If you fall in love with somebody that is not in love with you, like Dylan, you end up with the ring on your knee, all alone, screaming, Gretchen, right? That is the situation that you end up in. When you fall in love with somebody that doesn't also love you, it can destroy you. It could turn you into the worst version of yourself. And it could really, I mean, we can make the argument that all bad things have come from somebody not having the love that they wanted, a lack of love, right? So I completely agree, and that is also valid.
I 100% agree. It is true, because again, when you have that mutual love, when two people do fall in love and they both fall in love and you're on the same page, yeah, it's the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, I mean, there's also that other darker side to it too, where people fall in love and then fall out of love, or as you mentioned, one person is in love and the other person doesn't reciprocate that. It can be, like you said, love that's not mutual can be a destructive force, and it can ruin you. There's nothing that can ruin you faster than a broken heart, for sure. So no, very wise words as well. And it's good to see you, Peter Orchard Studios. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Yeah, it's very true. Super true. Losing love is what hurts. And I imagine it is. I imagine it probably hurts a lot. It's probably one of the worst feelings, I would imagine. Yep. Love's gonna get you effers. It's gonna get you. It's gonna get you. Yeah, people have killed over love, good or bad. Absolutely. I mean, people kill over shit, a lot less than love. But yeah, love can make people do some very much. I think someone said in the chat earlier, love is irrational. At times it can be irrational. It can make people do irrational things, especially if it's not reciprocated. If it's not a mutual love, it can make someone probably do some very irrational things. So yeah, Good stuff, guys.
Well, you guys, as Sevis, you have convinced me. Love is horrible. You make all compelling arguments for why love is not amazing. I'm terrified now. But I do love that somebody's mentioning here, Matt is mentioning how the revolutionaries, many of the revolutionaries talked about love. These are the men that did lead revolutions and
Yeah.
that built empires and destroyed empires. You could make the argument that they did this because of love, right? And they would speak about that Che, which is very interesting because I was about to tell you Audie's picture, the picture that they decided to use, Severance, um, the people that put out the press, that was one of the
Mhm.
pictures that they chose for Outie
Ah.
Irving. And it very much reminds me of Che Guevara and the iconic Che Guevara, picture that we all know. So it's very interesting that you bring that up. And yes, a lot of the people that have built and destroyed this world did it because of love or a lack of it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it can make people commit the best act in the world or the worst act in the world, depending on what your experience is with love. And yeah, I mean, it's been responsible for many miracles, but also tons of atrocities as well. So it's very true. It can be the best force in the world, but it can also be a destructive force, as many of you have pointed out. So it's very, very true, guys. Yeah, the show is very red, if you know what I mean. It is. It is very quote unquote red indeed. Awesome stuff. All right. It looks like this vote is coming to a close now. We have, is Innie Irving better or do you prefer Outie Irving? So far, 65% of you are preferring Innie Irving. So let's take this. Let's close this poll and let's see how this one is really going to end. Final tally. The final tally is dun 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 dun. Where is it? Come on, pull up. There we go. Is Innie Irving better? 64% of you say yes, Innie Irving is better, while 35% of you went with Outie Irving. So that was a little bit closer than some of the others, but the Innies are still wiping the floor with the Outies up until this point. The Innies are they're running the board. The Innies are running the board with this one. Gotta love it. Got to love it. And of course, from Irving down to his counterpart on the show, we have Bert himself, ladies and gentlemen. Who do you like better, Innie Bert or Outie Bert? This will be another interesting one because, again, Outie Bert kind of started with a little bit of suspicion on him in terms of who is Outie Bert. Does he have a little bit more of a nefarious kind of plan? But the way their story played out in season 2, you end up finding out that Outie Bert really potentially maybe have sacrificed his own life just to let Irving go instead of bringing him to wherever Lumen wanted to bring him. So this is going to be an interesting one. Is Innie Bert better or is Outie Bert better? What do you guys think? Let's start the poll and find out. Is Innie Bert better? What do you guys think? Is Innie Bert better or is it Outie Bert? Now, if you prefer Innie Bert, then by all means smash that yes. If you prefer Outie Bert, then click on that no. The poll is officially up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see where this one goes. Again, I feel like it's going to be tough to topple any of the Innies on this show in this regard. Like a lot of the Innies are I had a feeling a lot of the Innies were going to win most of these, but you never know. You never know if an underdog Outie can come along and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the numbers. I like to see actual real time numbers of how people are feeling, um, to see really how much support each one of them has. This one is difficult, as the Sevis are saying. This one is very difficult because even Outie Bert said, "I'm going to hell. I know I'm going to hell." So even he told us, "I'm not somebody to save. I'm not somebody to be on the side of." Even I myself understand that I'm going to hell for the things that I have done. I was a scoundrel. And so he makes a compelling argument against himself. Yet, I think that there is always room for salvation. And potentially his salvation came at the price of his life by saving Irving, by saving the person that his Innie, his innocent, fell in love with.
Yeah.
So that in itself, can he be redeemed for everything that he's done because of that sacrifice?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's the ultimate question there, right? Like everything that we know about Innie Burt and how good Innie Burt, how everybody loved Innie Burt. I feel like Burt and Irving's season 1 relationship was one of the bigger fan favorite relationships just because of how natural and organic it was and how they kind of just fell into it naturally. Which is always the best way to kind of fall in love when you're not looking for it and it just kind of finds you. But yeah, I mean, the Innies have been running away with this so far, but could this potentially be the first one where an Outie takes it? I don't know. Based on these early numbers, it looks like Innie Burt is running away with it handsomely. We have 83% voting for Innie Burt, 17% voting for Outie Burt. And again, PM, I think you brought up the best example possible when it comes to this. It really comes down to what you guys think in the chat. How do you guys ultimately think Outie Burt did in the long run? Did he redeem himself by potentially sacrificing himself to save Irving? Is that enough to put him ahead of Innie Burt? Or is that simply just not enough? Have we become a little too accustomed to Innie Burt and saw who his character was and sympathize with his story a little bit more is the question at the end of the day, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you can at least make an argument that Outie Burt did the right thing in the end. He did potentially maybe sacrifice his own life to save Irving. Even Irving asks him, isn't Lumon going to come after you for this? Which he knows they are. If I'm Outie Burt, you have to know in your heart that Lumon is going to come after you for this. And especially knowing that you already feel like you were going to hell anyway. I mean, that must be a scary thought for Burt, knowing that I am potentially risking the fires of hell as far as he's concerned to save this person, Irving. And he even says, I like how it felt to be innocent again. And that's something that Outie Burt hasn't felt in so long. He hasn't felt innocent ever since he has been doing all of this dirty work for Lumon. And in this one moment, he got a chance to finally feel innocent again. But is that enough to outweigh everything we know and love about Innie Burt, I guess is the question. It's a tough one.
That is a very difficult one because the Sevis are, once again, the chat knows all, making compelling arguments as to how we don't really know if he saved them or not. We are led to believe that he did save him, but until season 3, we're not going to know if Irving is in fact safe. So potentially we could be voting for him, giving him redemption that he has not earned. Also, I am reminded of how when they had the infamous ham dinner, Fields was very pleasant, was very nice, and I mean, he did the best that he could in the situation. And at the end of the ham dinner, when Irving wants to be nice and say, the 3 of us could do this again because he had such a great time, he says, or the 2 of us.
Yes.
That's it. I cannot vote for him. That was so mean because Fields was so understanding.
That's a really, really good point. Even after everything that Fields has forgiven. I mean, he has every right to not forgive a lot of what has happened. I mean, it's his husband at the end of the day. But yes, even then, even with Fields kind of taking this dinner, head on for what it was and making the best experience he could out of it, which I do agree with you. I feel like he did. Even still, we still had Outie Burt testing the boundaries, still at least flirting with the idea of going behind Fields' back again, purposely this time. It's one thing when his Innie has an affair with Irving. That's something that was out of his control. He didn't choose to do that. Now he knows about that, and he's still actively choosing to potentially go behind Fields' back again. And I think a lot of us did really like Fields in that scene. And that's one thing Dan Erickson described. He says, he hopes that the audience goes into this scene liking Irving and Burt, but he hopes you guys leave this scene also really liking Fields. And I feel like that episode definitely accomplished that. I went away from that dinner probably liking Fields the most out of those three.
So true. So true. I mean, when I think about it, if I think the love of my life makes me sit down at a ham dinner, I have to cook the ham on top of it. I have to make the food for this person that they had an affair with. Of course, I would drink too much wine, just like Fields. Of course, I would be messy, just like Fields. He really did the best that he could in that situation. And he was gracious enough to throw this ham dinner, right? I would have said, absolutely not. I'm not going to cook ham for your work husband. Like, no, right? But a scoundrel, definitely a scoundrel. We cannot support him.
Yeah.
I don't think.
It's, I mean, that scene again, him potentially sacrificing himself, while it does buy him a lot of points, yeah, it still doesn't put him ahead of Innie Irving. I think of Innie Burt. I think I agree with you there, because I mean, I know there's definitely the argument that maybe he didn't save Irving, but I feel like in situations like this, we kind of have to go with what the show gives us, really. I mean, we can think of any numerous number of theories as to what could have happened, but as far as what we have seen with our own eyes, Burt saved Irving. I mean, Burt saved Irving. And again, I like some of the theories that have been going around that this has been a setup the whole time, and that this whole time Burt is still actively setting up Irving. But I feel like if that was the case, we would have gotten another scene with Burt and Irving in the finale. We would have gotten a scene of Irving. I mean, imagine a great way to end season 2 off, where you see someone just coming onto the train and grabbing Irving and dragging him away. That would have been a little more interesting, I think. But I feel like since they ended that storyline the way they did, I feel like, just me personally, I feel like I have to go with what the show gives me. I have to trust what the show gives me until they give me a reason not to. And up until this point, the show definitely portrays it like Burt saved Irving. So until we see Irving in a different predicament, I have to kind of go with that, just because there's really no evidence supporting anything else, like for me personally. But I do like the theory. I do think it's an interesting theory that maybe Burt was still setting him up the whole time. But just based off what I've seen, it didn't seem like that's what the show was trying to do in that scene. It looked like a genuine sacrifice on Outie Burt's case. But again, still not enough to put him ahead of Innie Burt, in my opinion. I'm still going with Innie Burt. But yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah, he's still a scoundrel. Fuck that. Nope. I think that's the most egregious thing, because after that dinner, after, how well that dinner went, for him to still kind of entertain the idea of going behind Fields' back again, yeah, bit of a scoundrel, lot of a scoundrel. So I agree with you guys there for sure. For sure. Yeah, they can call each other Attila. They call each other Attila. This is true. They do call each other Attila. But yeah, not Fields' choice. Burt did the right thing. Yeah, I think Burt did the right thing in the end when it comes to him saving Irving, which I do very much think he did. I don't think there's anything else nefarious going on there. Again, if there was a bigger setup going on there, I feel like we would have seen that play out in the season 2 finale. But yeah, it was still a sacrifice. I feel like it was still a sacrifice on Burt's part, but I don't know if it was enough to pick him over Innie Burt. Innie Burt is like 100% kind of innocent in all of this. And again, he's an Innie. He didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask to be brought into this life. Yet he made the best of it that he could in terms of finding love in a place where most people probably never, ever get to experience that. So yeah, interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah, I think he saved him too. Burt probably killed dozens. I mean, if not directly, then indirectly, yes, because we hear Burt say, I've never killed anybody myself, but he has driven tons of people to undisclosed locations where Lumon grabbed these people up, and I'm sure he knows deep down that these people are all getting killed, which, of course, we find out is most likely the reason why he feels like he's going to go to hell when he dies, because he feels that he has done all of these, he's committed all of these sins by driving these people to their deaths, which again, it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. All of these people end up becoming missing. We have the list of these people inside Outie Irving's apartment of a list of missing persons presumed dead. These are probably all of the names that Bert and people like Bert have driven for Lumon. So, I mean, yeah, it doesn't take a genius to kind of figure it out that all of these people that Bert has driven are most likely dead and were probably killed by Lumon. And at the very least, while it doesn't make him the killer, it definitely makes him an accessory to murder at the very least. And yeah, it seems like that has weighed pretty heavy on him to the point where he feels like he's going to hell now. So yeah, I don't know. Innie Irving, man. Innie Bert, he's he's kind of good through and through. Outie Bert might have gotten some kind of redemption, which I do feel like he redeemed himself a bit. But then again, as you guys brought up, that one kind of scene after the dinner where he was still entertaining the idea of going behind Fields, that doesn't sit too well with me. Cheating is a big no-no where I'm concerned. And that is full-on cheating. That's not like your innies falling in love with each other where you don't know. Now he is actively flirting with cheating on Fields. So that's another tough one to get behind. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And this is why these characters are so compelling. This is why the writing is so good on the show, because they put these characters in some of the most precarious situations, and then they ask us as the audience, how do you feel about this? Which way do you fall on this? And again, that's what makes these discussions so fun, because we all usually tend to have different perspectives and opinions on these things, which again, it would be boring if we all thought the same. But yeah, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. We got 86% of you are going with Innie Bert, and you yourself as well picked Innie Bert, I believe, PM. And me too. I'm right there with you. I am going with Innie Bert myself as well. Awesome. Awesome stuff. All right, let's end this poll. I'll give it 30 seconds or so. If anybody hasn't had a chance to vote and you want to vote, drop your vote right now before the poll closes. Do you prefer Innie Bert or do you prefer Outie Bert? If you do prefer the Innie, hit on yes. If you prefer the Outie, click on that no. Give that one more minute. Actually, we'll give it as long as this clip takes to play. Love it. No. So good. So good. Excellent scene. Again, the finale had some really, really good moments of comedic levity. But without further ado, let's end this poll and let's see where it ends out. It looks like we got around 83% for Innie Bert. 83% versus 16% for Outie Bert. So we've got a few people still voting for some of these Outies. I mean, the Innies are wiping the floor with everybody, but there's still some love for the Outies out there. Yeah, step off, fucko. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. All right, now let's see. Up next, we have Gemma herself. Now, this is a tough one considering there's so many different personalities, but I suppose we can play this one as it's kind of depicted here. We can put the Miss Casey with the Innies and the other personas, and Gemma Prime is the Outie. Do you prefer the real original Prime Gemma, the Gemma that we met in the flashbacks, the Gemma that has been through all of this crazy torture, or do you go with her Innie personas, the other Gemmas and Miss Casey? Which one do you go with here? Do you prefer Innie or Outie? This one's going to be interesting. Although, I don't know, I think I have a feeling I know which way this one might go too, but you think of Miss Casey. And everything she's been through, like she's ultimately innocent in all of this. This one's really, really tough. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys go the Miss Casey route and some of these others, or do you go the original, real Gemma Prime? Is Gemma Prime better? So this one we're switching it up a little bit. Is Gemma Prime better? With Gemma Prime being the original Gemma, the original Gemma that we meet in the flashback episode, the original Gemma that fell in love with Mark, that he's trying to rescue. That is who we will go here. Is Gemma Prime better? And for this one, if you think Gemma Prime is better, then you click on that yes. If you prefer Miss Casey or the other Gemmas, you can click on no. Which Gemma do you prefer, Innie or Outie? And I cannot take any credit for any of these thumbnails on the stream, and all of these ones right here. Our awesome co-host PM Philosophy made each and every one of these thumbnails, and I 100% agree with you, Susan. They are phenomenal looking, so good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. They came out great. I love the aesthetic. It just has that Severance vibe to it. So no, you did super well with these. Better than I would have done, for sure. For sure.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. Is Gemma Prime better, or do you guys side a little bit more with Miss Casey and some of the others? We have 73% of you so far, 75% of you now so far are saying, yes, Gemma Prime is better. So some of you, most of you, are going with the Gemma that fell in love with Mark, the Gemma that we were introduced to in the flashback episode. The poor Gemma that has been put through hell and back over and over and over again. It's man, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. Innie or Outie when it comes to Gemma? Her Outie or her Innie, guys? Which one do you appreciate? Which one do you like more? And what about you, PM? When it comes to Innie and Outie Gemma, do you like the original Gemma Prime, the the one who fell in love with Mark, the one who we got to meet in that beautiful flashback episode, or do you go a little bit more with Miss Casey and the others?
I mean, I think that it has to be Gemma Prime. So I was going to go with Miss Casey, right? Just because of the wellness sessions, right?
Yes.
Outie likes
Yeah.
whatever, Taco Bell. So I was gonna go with her because she's so soothing, she's so amazing, right? However, when I think of Gemma, not only did she go through so much torture, experimentation on, but we saw the way that she handled it. She took it like,
Yeah.
I mean, like a soldier. She would wake up and say, how many rooms am I doing? She was fine with it. She was like, I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to make it through, get out. I need to see Mark. Also, when she runs away and she beats up the creepy dentist, I mean, that in itself, that's a warrior. We have to go with Gemma Prime.
I mean, everything that she's been through. I mean, not only was she a phenomenal character before the accident, before she got taken by Lumon, like even that Outie Gemma was super cool, super nice, super calm, super caring. We find out earlier in the Severance universe that she was really the only one that was ever not mean to Rickon. Rickon, we know how Rickon is. He's eccentric. He's got his ideas. He's a little outside of the box, this kind of new age way of thinking. But it seemed like sometimes Devin and Mark would sometimes make fun of Rickon and laugh at him a little bit, sometimes right to his face. But according to Rickon, Gemma was always the one there with a kind word, an encouraging word, always the one there to kind of pick him up when he fell down kind of thing. Always good to Rickon, because she does have that just genuine quality about her where she is just a nice person. You definitely get the sense where Gemma actually cares about other people, even people she doesn't know. She just has that caring gene inside of her. She's one of those kind of people. So yeah, I can, it's hard to not pick Outie Gemma. But then again, you look at Miss Casey, and Miss Casey is incredibly innocent in all of this as well. And as you mentioned, she's super kind, super sweet. The wellness sessions are some of the only kind of pleasurable experiences that any of the Innies ever even get, I imagine. So yeah, I can definitely say that I do love me some Miss Casey. I like seeing her in the last episode. It was cool to see her in that quick little scene where she literally wakes up as her and Mark are kissing, and she's like, what's happening? What's transpiring? Like super robotic. It's just super weird to see her in that moment. But yeah, I mean, I do have some love for Miss Casey as well, for sure. She's been through a tough road as well, and I feel like, you know, we felt. I know you and I felt a little bit bad for her in season 1 when she says to Mark that I had so much time in observing Heliar on the severed floor. That was the longest I have ever been awake for, and she was only awake for a few hours that day. So you get a little bit of an insight as to Miss Casey's existence, where she gets activated for an hour at best, and then they shut her right down, to the point where her just being able to spend just a few hours observing Helly was the greatest moment of her life. Just shows you how much, you know, the little or lack of experience that she has in life. Oh, mute.
On mute. Do you remember when Mr. Milkshake walks her through that dark hallway with the dark elevator, the red light, and she's crying? She doesn't know why, but she knows that this is not a good thing. There's something in her that tells her this is not a good place. And so she tries asking Mr. Milkshake if he could maybe spend a little bit more time with her. And he was so cold to her. He says, "No, I'm swamped today. I have a lot of things to do." She like cries, and he says to her, "You do all kinds of wonderful things up there." And then you see her go into the elevator, the light turns red and it's going down. So not only is he lying, like she's not going to a better floor, she's going down to the worst of all floors, and she doesn't do wonderful things. Her entire life is torture, basically. So it makes me think about Miss Casey and her feelings and how helpful she was. Even the goat people loved her. The goat people really like the wellness sessions.
Yeah.
So I mean, that in itself makes me want to vote for Miss Casey, but I mean, it has to be Gemma. It has to be.
And I do kind of agree there too. It's like, you know, part of me does kind of want to vote Miss Casey just because she does have that kind of innocent story. She's also a bit of a victim here in all of this as well. And yeah, you know, as Matt says, you know, she's a real person, but kind of a limited real person. And that's kind of a good way of putting it. Yeah, she's a person, but she's very limited in her experiences and her freedom. Very little to no freedom Miss Casey has. At least the other severed employees, when they come into work and they're on the severed floor, they have a degree of freedom. They have free reign of the floor. They have freedom to interact with who they want to. Mark and Helly have the freedom to even fall in love with each other. But Miss Casey has none of that. She's got the worst of the worst when it comes to being a severed employee that can never leave this place. So I do sympathize with her story, definitely. But yeah, I do got to side a little bit more with Outie Gemma as well, just because, you know, her story was just so tragic, so, you know, iconic. You get to see their journey that her and Mark went on from the very beginning, from the very first time they met to their, you know, their beautiful marriage, at least at the beginning when they were very much in love, up into the miscarriage, which really was the kind of beginning of the end for them, where everything changed at that point on. And then, of course, we have the accident and her getting taken by Lumon and all of the shit that Lumon and the creepy doctor have put her through for the last 2 years, 2 years of torture. It's hard to not side with Gemma after everything she's been through. It's hard to not side with Gemma, for sure. For sure. I gotta go Gemma. And it looks like the chat is also going Gemma as well. We got 81% have chosen Gemma Prime is better, while 19% of you are saying no, Miss Casey is better. Interesting. Yeah, send her back to the testing room floor. Oh my God, that made me despise Cobel. And I think a lot of people did. You know, the way Cobel was so angry in that scene, that's something you always pointed out. Like the sheer anger in Cobel's freaking voice and on her face in that moment. She was so upset with Miss Casey and Mark in that moment, where, yeah, she's send them down to the testing room floor now. And yeah, and then she gets not even a single word of comfort from Milchick when he's escorting her there, as you brought up. He could have at least given her a little bit more of a kind word, or done. I mean, I feel like he could have maybe done a little more to reassure her there, but nope, kind of very cold with her. On you go. I don't have time for you. Get going, kind of thing. So yeah, you feel really bad for Miss Casey, for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Miss Casey is good because Gemma is good. And I do think some things kind of transcend the severance barrier, but I feel like the show has also kind of shown us where just because your Innie is good or your Outie is good doesn't necessarily mean your Innie is going to be good. And I feel like we see that with Helena and Helly, for instance. Like Helena, she's not very good for the most part. Yes, she's a victim in some manner, where she has been victimized by her father, by Lumon, by Drummond, by this whole kind of way of life that the Eagans live under this Lumon umbrella. So Helena has definitely been a victim at times, but she's also been a very big perpetrator at the same time as well. And then we see Helly, who's just kind of like purely good and innocent. So while sometimes that can transfer from one to the other, just because your Outie is good doesn't necessarily mean that Innie is always going to be good. I feel like we have some evidence going both ways at least. But yeah, on you go. On you go, as Milchick says. That was so cruel. Yeah, go on now. Just messed up. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. I was very interested to see how this one would go, because on one hand, again, Miss Casey is one of those characters who has done no wrong and is really only a victim. But then again, you have this giant weight of this whole Gemma storyline, especially after us getting the flashback, seeing how things play out in the finale, and seeing how she ultimately loses in the finale as well. We get to that very last scene in the hallway where Mark is left to choose Gemma or Helly. And even though it's Innie Mark making the choice, as far as Gemma knows, all she sees is her husband running away with another woman. That is all Gemma sees in that moment, is her husband leaving her for someone else. So you could definitely, Gemma had a really tough season this season. It was rough.
Oh my God. She had it the worst, really, Sevis. Not only was she experimented on, but she actually, if we recall, the creepy dentist tells her, you need to move on because Mark has found someone else. He's married with a child. She doesn't believe that. However, you could definitely see how Gemma would believe that now that she sees her husband refusing to come with her and going, running away with Helly. That could all come full circle. And if it was me, I would think, oh my God, he is married. He probably does have a family. It was all true. And all of the days and the hours that she spent just hoping to see Mark again. We would see how she would ask, can I see my husband? Will I be able to see Mark? Right?
Yeah.
After each one of the rooms, showing us that was her goal. Her goal for participating and playing along was, I'm going to get to see my husband. She does get to see her husband, and what she sees of her husband is her husband running away with another woman. That has to be heartbreaking, horrifying. So we have to give her at least the win here, guys. Let's make it right.
Yeah, I feel like she's earned this win because, yeah, just that last scene alone. It's everything that she has just gone through. As you mentioned, the one thing she's doing this for is to be reunited with Mark. That's the only reason she's playing ball, the only reason she's going along with this. And yeah, for her to sacrifice so much, for her to have gone through so much, only for it to end with her watching her husband run away with another woman. That is the ultimate kick in the pants right there. After such a long journey, to have it end like that, man, you feel for her. You cannot help but feel for everything that Gemma has been through. She has been through, we were talking about this earlier, and I think when looking at all of the characters' storylines, every single character, Innie, Outie, both, it's hard to make an argument that anybody has suffered more than Gemma. Gemma has probably suffered more than anyone else, I would say. Uh-oh, what am I missing? I know I saw this one. I wanted to bring this up. Where is this? Mo
Karate
Biggs.
of comedy. It is indeed comedy. Like we have a comedian, Sevi. He's killing me.
I don't think Jen is getting away. She's not. She's got a terrible case of not moving her ass. That is a good one, Karate of comedy. That's actually a very good point. She might not even make it out of that freaking hallway for all we know. She might not even ever make it out of the fucking building. She might have, a case of not moving her ass. That is a good one. That is a good one, Karate of comedy. Very good. I also like this one as well from Mo. Milchick is what would happen if Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air had almost total control over people. And that one seemed to be pretty popular in the chat. It is kind of true. It's like, I mean, he's got that kind of Carlton vibe to him a little bit. Now that you mention it, he does have a little bit of Carlton energy. And is this what would happen if Carlton were to become like the just giant middle management America corporate tyrant? Like, is this what we're looking at? The corporate tyrant version of Carlton? Is that Milchick? It might be. It might be. Good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff indeed. Now, we have one more Innie Outie for you guys to vote on. This one is a little bit more just for fun, but we thought it would be kind of fun throwing it in there, considering how this finale played out. But first, we're going to end this one. Is Gemma Prime better? Yes or no? 81% of you said yes. Gemma Prime, the original Gemma, is the better Gemma. You guys are going with the OG. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. 81% to 18%. But last, and certainly not least, we have a fun one that we thought would be just fun. We figured we threw it in there, even though this character doesn't technically have an Outie on the show. We have seen another version of this character or of this actress in another show. Very iconic as well. So this one is going to be an interesting one. Innie versus Outie when it comes to Brienne of Tarth. Are we going with Brienne of the Goats or Brienne of Tarth? Innie or Outie, guys? Innie or Outie? And this was a genius one, I thought, PM. And I'm so glad you made this one up too, because this was just for fun, but this is a tough one. Like, this is a really tough one. I love Brienne of Tarth, but I love what freaking Brienne of the Goats has been doing on Severance. We got Brienne of Goats versus Brienne of Tarth. Which one is better? I mean, shit, chat, while I pull up this poll, what about you, PM? Where do you go? Where do you land on this one? Do you go with the Innie Goat Gemma, or do you go with the Outie Brienne of Tarth Gemma?
I mean, this is a very difficult one because both of them had amazing fight scenes, right? We got to see a little Brienne in the Goat Manager. She brought it, right? Also, this picture, they're gorgeous. Both of these characters, they're so beautiful. She's absolutely gorgeous, magnificent in these two particular shots. So it's very difficult to even, come up with which one I would like best. But I feel like I have to go with the goat person because she had the cowbell. More cowbell.
The cowbell. Yes. Yes. She's got the cowbell at the end of the day. And we do have the cowbell emoji, the Brienne of Tarth cowbell emoji that members can spam in the chat anytime they want. This is a tough one. This is a bit of a tough one. We got a lot of people saying Brienne of Tarth in the chat. We got Brienne of Tarth all day. I mean, we got one for the goats. We got Innie Brienne of the Goats. So, all right, this one's going a little bit both ways. We got votes for both. Okay, I like to see that. I like to see that indeed. Miss C going with the Outie Brienne of Tarth. Yeah, this one's tough. Like you mentioned, both have amazing fight scenes. We got Brienne versus the Hound on one case, and then you got Brienne of the Goats versus Drummond on the other. Two iconic fights. And you're totally right. We definitely got to see Gwendolyn kind of channel a little bit of her Innie Brienne in this scene, because as she's fighting Drummond, you see her just shouting out those exact same pitch screams that Brienne of Tarth would always scream every time she was fighting. The yeah, 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 like that's so Brienne. She had one of the most iconic war cries, battle cries, and she has that same battle cry here on Severance. Along with, again, another kick-ass outfit, just like she had on Game of Thrones. So yeah, this one's tough. This is an interesting one. I mean, is Goat Brienne better, or is Brienne of Tarth better? And looking now, this is a very close one. It looks like we have 56% of you are saying Goat Brienne is better. The majority is going with Goat Brienne. And 44% of you are saying Brienne of Tarth. And again, considering how big Game of Thrones was and how great of a character Brienne of Tarth was, part of me was worried that Brienne of Tarth might run away with this. But, you know, color me surprised, which I love being every once in a while. It looks like the chat is sticking with Goat Brienne a little bit more, although I suppose that makes sense. We do have Severance fans here in attendance. Maybe not everybody is a Game of Thrones fans, which is totally fine, especially considering how it ended. But yeah, no, this is an interesting one to see. I was very interested to see where this one would go. So you're going with Innie, Goat, Brienne of the Goats.
Innie, yeah, Innie, Goat, Brienne. She also has that iconic line, right? She's following protocol. She's not happy about it, and then very short line, but super powerful. She just looks Drummond straight in the eye and says, "How many more? How many more will I have to give?"
Yeah.
Perfection.
It was. I mean, yeah, you get the sense that this is really wearing on her. Like, you get the sense that this is something she has had to do multiple times, not just once in a great while. Like, this is something that, I mean, if they're breeding this many goats, we saw how many goats were in there, tons of freaking goats. So yeah, you definitely got the sense that this was a very regular occurrence, that they're making these goat sacrifices. And of course they have Brienne. You know, and of course Drummond hands the gun to Brienne of Goats for her to do the deed herself. Never want to get your own hands dirty, Drummond. I get that, but yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. I'm genuinely struggling which one I would go with. Again, I am a huge Game of Thrones fan. I thought Brienne of Tarth was great on the show, but man, Brienne of the Goats was a badass too. Like, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. And the chat is this is one of the closer votes we've had all night, with, again, 56% of the votes going for Brienne of the Goats and 47% of the votes going for Brienne of Tarth. Tough one.
Okay, but have you told us who you're going with, Jeremy?
No, I haven't. I'm still trying to decide. This is a tough one. Ah, man. I loved Brienne of Goats. I did. I loved her in this episode. She was super, super badass. It was my second favorite scene of the entire episode, behind the Mark talking with Mark scene. But I got to go with Thrones. I got to go with Thrones. Even though I cannot stand how Thrones ended, Brienne of Tarth was a really good character at the beginning of Thrones. During like seasons 2, 3, and 4, she had a really good character, a really good story arc. You know, she just had this nobility about her, where all she cared about was getting revenge on the person who killed her king. She failed to protect her king, and she was not going to rest until she remedied that. And I liked her determination, her honor, her perseverance to always kind of do the noble thing. She was one of the few characters in Thrones that were just genuinely good to their core. And not many characters in Thrones were like that. Thrones has a lot of kind of characters that have a little bit of a mix of both in them, good and dark. But every once in a while, there's a few of those characters, like your Jon Snows and like your Brienne of Tarth, who were just outright good, just honorable, just noble, always tried to do the right thing no matter what the cost was. And I admire that about Brienne. And since I spent more time with Brienne than I have Brienne of the Goats, I think I got to go with Brienne of Tarth just because I have a more complete character in my mind with her than I do with the goats. But damn, I love Brienne of Goats too. And yeah, goat lives matter. Goat lives matter indeed.
I knew you were gonna go there because Sevis, anytime somebody starts to compliment you and say how amazing like the goat person was, there's a butt coming. They're breaking up with you or it's going they're choosing the other person. So run away. Whenever you start getting all of the compliments, something bad is about to happen.
Yeah, you're right. You know, a little bit of a pleasantry before you stick the knife in, kind of thing, I guess. Yeah, you're right. You're very right. But yeah, no, this was probably the toughest one out of all of the ones we did. The one that was just for fun ended up being the toughest one to choose. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you can easily go either way with either one of these phenomenal characters, and you would definitely not be wrong no matter which one you chose. So that is awesome. But it looks like this one is still close. Again, we got a few votes. Again, if you guys have not voted yet, vote for who you think is the better character. Who do you like more? Is it the Brienne of Goats or is it Brienne of Tarth? We got 58% are going with Brienne of the Goats. Goat Brienne looks like she might be running away with this one. I'll leave that open for another minute or so before we close it down. But yeah, I mean, she was good. She was good. Yeah, seeing her fight Drummond was like if she had to fight an evil version of Hodor. Kind of. Yeah, it's kind of an evil version of Hodor for sure. For sure. Yeah, she was spicy in this show, though. Yeah, a little bit more spicy in this show than she was in Thrones. In Thrones, she was a little bit more reserved, a little bit more just kind of honor-bound and strong. But here, yeah, she was a little more spicy here. She was ready to fucking put that gun right to Drummond's head and pull the trigger if Mark didn't stop her. She was going to kill Drummond if Mark didn't put a stop to that. So, yeah, I'd say she was a little more feisty in this episode. And I think this Brienne is a little more feisty, for sure. For sure. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And yeah, what a finale. I mean, you know, the finale really was incredibly interesting. We got a lot of really good scenes that I really did enjoy. Some things that I maybe thought could have been handled a little bit differently. And all of those will be in my episode 10 breakdown video, which I will probably try and get up on the channel at some point tomorrow. But yeah, overall, it was an enjoyable finale. We got some really interesting scenes. Some of my favorite scenes actually came in this finale. That one in particular of Innie Mark speaking to Outie Mark at the very beginning, towards the beginning of the episode. This sequence was just so brilliant. It was so brilliant from start to finish. I was so stuck and glued to the screen watching this interaction between these two Marks. It was so simple yet so genius at the same time. And I love the smile on Innie Mark's face when he's talking to Outie Mark for the first time. This is at the very beginning of the scene. This is when Innie Mark hears Outie Mark's voice for the first time ever. And he's got this, he just can't help himself but have this smile on his face. Here is this Outie that I've been living 2 years with, and this is the first time I've ever had a chance to talk with him directly. So again, you can't help but admire the innocence of Innie Mark in these situations. He's super innocent, super kind of gullible even at times. But one thing I liked about Innie Mark in this episode was how he wasn't as gullible as he usually is. He did kind of start to wake up. He did kind of smarten up and evolve a lot throughout this conversation between him and Mark, where he was asking the tough questions. Okay, what is reintegration? How do I know it's going to work? How do I know I'm even going to be around when it's done? You have all of these years of memories versus my only 2 years. It certainly sounds like there'll be a lot more of you than there will be of me. Innie Mark is asking all of these very pertinent questions, and it was interesting to see him like have the presence of mind to do that on the fly, where yes, he wants to help his Outie, he wants to help Gemma, he wants to help Miss Casey, but he also has to realize, but he also does realize that he's potentially fighting for the lives of every single Innie on that severed floor. So for him, it's not as simple as going in and saving Gemma. It's a question of, okay, saving Gemma might potentially mean the rest of us Innies cease to exist. So I just loved this sequence. This was definitely my favorite scene of the episode. Might have even been my favorite scene of the entire season, to be honest. I loved this sequence back and forth right here. Really good.
And it makes me think, it made me so proud of him because This is his job, basically. He is floor manager, right? Helly asks, he's not here. Who's floor manager? And he does take it very seriously, that his job is to protect the Innies, to look out for the Innies, to look out for his team. So I was very proud of him that he stood up to Mark and that he picked up on the way that he was being condescending and disrespectful. Um, which that is the irony. Sometimes you get offended over things that are done to you and then you go and repeat them to other people, um, forgetting how offensive they were. He was so upset. Audi Mark was so upset when Elena at the Chinese restaurant called Gemma by another name. He changed completely. He was being pleasant, even flirty, but once she said the name incorrectly, he changed. He was like upset. He left. And then he goes and does the same thing to Innie Mark by calling Helly Helene. And that's when we get the change in Innie Mark too. Innie Mark goes from having a smile on his face, trying to work it out, to being so upset and saying, "You don't even know anything about me. You don't pay attention. You don't pay enough attention. Not only that, but you don't care, right?" And so we see him change 180 degrees and demand the next thing I see better be the elevator. And he wins.
He did. He wins. He wins this exchange. That's very fair to say. Innie Mark won this battle of wits between him and Outie Mark, and that's surprising to see. Considering he has so much less life experience, and you think these Innies might be a little more easy to manipulate, but no. Sometimes these Innies are very sharp. Like Helly, for instance, she's super sharp from the very beginning. Like Innie Helly is not someone to get taken advantage of. You know what I mean? Unless you physically take over her body, she's going to win most of the exchanges she's in too, because she is that savvy. She is that witty. And yeah, I feel like Innie Mark grew a lot in this scene where he kind of came around to realizing like, wait a minute, maybe my Audie's goals and my goals aren't as aligned as I originally thought. And I love how he kind of has the presence of mind to process all of this in real time before he decides to help Mark or not. He's actually considering all of the options, because you almost get the sense when he mentions it to Devin, when he says, if you guys take down Lumon, what happens to us? What happens to all of the Innies on the severed floor? And you see Devin just kind of turn around and look at Cobel like they didn't have an answer for him. It's like, did you guys not think of this? Did you not think of the consequence that this could mean for all of the Innies? And it seems like maybe they didn't think that far ahead, that they were kind of only thinking about Gemma, getting Gemma back, and they didn't think about what are going to be the repercussions of getting Gemma back. Are all of these Innies going to be put in danger now because we are potentially taking down Lumon? So I love how Mark just has the presence of mind to kind of evolve and grow in this moment and realize and see the bigger picture. Like, okay, I get that you want to save her. I want to help Mrs. Casey too. But then again, this could jeopardize my love with Helly, and it could also jeopardize the lives of all of the Innies on the severed floor. So at the very least, I at least appreciate Innie Mark's kind of awareness in this moment to kind of see the situation as, more long-term, as opposed to only worrying about getting Gemma back, that Devin and Mark were probably only thinking about. But yeah, I mean, some of the best cinema ever filmed. 100% agree with you, Xavier. Really could. Like, and it was so riveting. I could have watched a whole hour of this. I 100% agree, Matt. It really was. It was just such a phenomenal scene, like from conception to the way that they executed it, the cinematography, the transitions from Innie to Outie Mark, the genius, simplistic use of the video camera. Everything about this sequence was brilliant from start to finish. Yeah, I 100% could have watched an entire episode of just these two going back and forth like this. It was that fun to watch. Very well done. Very well done. Man, there were some good scenes. There were some good scenes in this finale, I must say. Thinking back on it, again, while I maybe would have liked a little bit of a different ending, or while there were some small things that I would have done a little differently, overall, it was a good finale. I did at least enjoy watching it, and I really loved some of these scenes, like really loved some of these scenes in particular. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a pretty decent finale. It was a pretty decent finale. I think I like the season 1 finale a little bit better, just in terms of the feeling I had after watching season 1. Like, I was like, holy shit, you're going to leave us there? And maybe I do like a cliffhanger every once in a while. Maybe I do appreciate a good cliffhanger. But I guess that's one question I would want to ask each and every one of you, as I will close this final poll, as we have Brienne versus Brienne. And it looks like Goat Brienne is going to be the winner at 57%. 59%. Goat Brienne is the winner. Man, Goat Brienne, you are running home with it. But I guess the last poll we're going to do before we get ready to close this down. And again, tomorrow night, PM and I will be back for our regularly scheduled Saturday night show that we do every single Saturday right here on the channel, where we dive super deep into the finale. And I know we did a lot of Innie versus Outie stuff in this stream. Tomorrow's stream will be solely dedicated to diving super deep into the finale and touching on some of the scenes that we have yet to talk about. And of course, all the scenes that you guys still want to talk about as well. And I'm going to go watch the finale probably one more time between now and tomorrow's stream, just to get another. You always like to watch, me personally anyway, I always like to watch these episodes at least 2 or 3 times before I can give my full accounting on it. So who knows, maybe after watching it a few more times, we'll have some different perspectives on some of the scenes that we saw in this finale. But tomorrow night for our Saturday show, PM will be diving super heavy into the season finale, while also giving some of our season 3 predictions as well. So any predictions, any theories that you guys have for season 3, definitely bring them here tomorrow night for our Saturday show, and we'll be diving into all of that. But for the last one, the last poll, the last question I will ask each and every one of you and my awesome co-host PM, which finale do you guys prefer? Do you like the season 1 finale, or do you prefer the season 2 finale? Which one did you like better? Did you like the season 2 finale more? Question mark. Did you like the season 2 finale more? If you did like the season 2 finale more than season 1, then click on that yes. If you prefer the season 1 finale, then click on that no. And yeah, again, for me, just like I said a few minutes ago, I loved the season 2 finale, but the season 1 finale for me, I think I just liked it a little bit more. But I still did really like this episode too. But what about you, PM? When it comes down to both of these finales, now that we have seen both of these seasons in its entirety, which finale did you like better?
That's a great question. Very difficult. But I have to go with the season 2 finale. And
Awesome.
the reason why, it's not so much the cliffhanger, right? We didn't get much of a cliffhanger, even though there are still things to be uncovered. It's the comedy. I could watch this episode over and over, not just because of the answers that we got, but the comedy of it. I would gladly watch it a couple more times. It's hilarious. It's iconic. It's epic. It was also super long. So I have to give it to this specific finale because it wasn't super serious the way that we are kind of used to. In a show like this, usually the finale would be very emotionally draining and super serious, but they managed to kind of wrap it up in comedy, and so you never felt too bad. It was a roller coaster of emotions, so it has to be this one.
You bring up some good points, and I mean the comedy aspect alone. I mean, yes, this season 2 finale had some of the best moments of levity that I've ever seen in Severance history, whether it's Milchick just getting completely dissed by a statue, whether it's him running off like a freaking maniac, or whether it's the hilarious fight between Brienne and Drummond, and the hilarious way that Mark kills Drummond accidentally when he freaking reintegrates into freaking Outie. Just hilarious. Milchick getting whacked with the trombone, down to, of course, probably my favorite sequence in terms of comedy in the finale, the standoff between Mark and the nurse, which was just so freaking good. Yeah, this finale, this episode probably had the best comedy that I've ever seen in Severance, to date. I mean, episode 4 would probably be a close rival. We had some really funny moments in episode 4 where, I'm gonna kill him, Mr. Milchick, and do it, Seth. And marshmallows are for team players, Dylan. They don't just hand them out. So it's kind of tough. I mean, between this episode and episode 4, definitely the two most comedic inclined episodes I've seen. But yeah, I don't know. I think I might enjoy some of the comedy in this finale, maybe the best. Like, again, this sequence right here just had me in freaking tears, absolute tears, watching these two maniacs just go at it like this. I loved every second of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the finale had a lot of good comedy. We had a lot of good comedic levity in this episode, and I'm super grateful for that. Super grateful. But the chat, wow, let's see what the chat is saying. Do you like the season 2 finale more? Yes or no? 65% of you are saying you like the season 1 finale more. Wow, 67% going with the season 1 finale, while 37% of you are going with the season 2 finale. Okay, interesting. Very interesting scores. I gotta say, I would have thought season 2 would have won this poll. I was really thinking season 2 was going to win this poll. It seems like this episode was very, very well received. But then again, season 1 was very well received as well. So it really just comes down to a matter of your preference. Which one do you personally prefer? And while I love them both, yeah, I think I had a little bit more of a satisfied feeling watching the season 1 finale. But yeah, I don't know. With you bringing up the comedy, it's like, shit, maybe I do like this one just as much, because the freaking comedy was just so good in this episode. Like, holy shit. But wow, there it is, guys. There it is. The final poll of the night. 37% of you like the season 2 finale, and 63% of you like the season 1 finale. Interesting stuff.
You Sevies are hilarious. So we have Jen, one of our favorite Sevies, Jen the teacher, saying good night. And of course, the Sevies can't let anything go by. They're like dream sweet, just like the creepy dentist.
Oh shit. Yeah, I mean, this is just the best chat in the world. Like, we love doing these streams with each and every one of you. I mean, it's so fun to get on here and talk about all this stuff, whether it's Severance, any show that we're covering on the show, every show that we go on to cover. It's always a ton of fun hanging out with the chat and getting you guys' perspective on things. What did you like? What didn't you like? What were some of your favorite scenes? What were some of your least favorite scenes? We do genuinely love diving into this stuff, and it is always an absolute pleasure to be able to run these streams with you guys for a little bit. So from the bottom of my heart and from PMs, we both want to thank you very much for being so supportive this season. I mean, this has been a crazy, wild season of Severance with many ups and downs. But we powered through each and every one of these episodes together with the Sebbies in the chat. And I just want to say a big thank you again to each and every one of you for all of the support you guys have shown us this season. Season 2 may be over, but the Severance talk is only just beginning. Every week is continuing tomorrow right here on the channel with our regular Saturday show as PM and I dive even deeper into the season 2 finale, along with talking some of our season 3 predictions as well, and where we see some of these storylines going in the future. So definitely do not forget to come back and join us tomorrow night. The Severance talk is going to continue. We want to see what are some of your season 3 predictions. Where do you guys think this season, next season, is going to go? Where are these storylines going to take us? We'll be diving into all of that and more tomorrow night right here on the channel. But again, a huge thank you to each and every one of you for joining us week after week. And of course, a huge, massive thank you to my awesome co-host for joining me every week, diving into all of this crazy Severance madness. I could not have done it without you. Thank you so much, PM Philosophy. And if you guys have not already, definitely subscribe to PM's channel. She has some awesome Severance content on her channel as well. And the link to her channel can be found in the description below. But thank you again so much, PM. You have been a wonderful co-host for this season of Severance. I have enjoyed it immensely.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you to the channel. I love this channel. I was a huge fan of the channel before even, we started talking. Thank you, Sevis. You guys have been so welcoming. You guys really genuinely are the nicest chat that there is. So welcoming, so kind. Thank you so much for being so warm and receiving me in such a nice way. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been great. And again, yeah, the chat is always incredibly welcoming. And that's one thing we always love, whether it's somebody catching their 100th, their 100 stream here, or whether someone's catching their first stream ever. You guys have always been super, super generous and super welcoming in the chat. And that's always one kind of vibe we always wanted to cultivate here on this channel. The kind of feeling where anybody or everybody can come and hang out and dive into these shows, no matter who you are or what background you come from. None of that matters. We're just here to have fun. And yeah, you guys have been super supportive of everything we have done this season, and we cannot thank you enough. But we are going to close it down now. But again, tomorrow night, right here on the channel for our usual Saturday show, PM and I will be diving super deep into the finale and talking some season 3 predictions. So definitely come and join us tomorrow before this Sevi week ends. And again, even though season 2 is over, that doesn't mean the Severance talk is over. And we will definitely be diving into some more Severance over the next few days and next week as well. We got some fun Severance content that we're going to be planning next week as well. Some very fun Severance themed streams that I think people are really going to enjoy. But again, thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt, for being a member for 20 months. Wow, that is incredibly generous of you. Another huge supporter of the channel and an awesome mod. Thank you so much, Kiwi Skirt. Thanks, Jeremy and PM. Great time. Yeah, it's always a great time. Always love diving into this stuff with each and every one of you. And again, I cannot thank everyone enough from the bottom of my heart for all of the support you guys have shown us. And yeah, we will continue. We will continue to talk Severance. As long as everybody wants to talk Severance, we will continue to have some Severance streams as we transition into some other shows that we're going to be covering here on the channel. Like, of course, The Last of Us Season 2, which is just around the corner now. April 13th, The Last of Us Season 2 will be dropping. So if any of you have not seen Season 1 of The Last of Us yet, definitely get out there and check that one out. That one's going to be a very, very big show when that comes around. It's a huge show, and it looks like season 2 is going to be pretty interesting depending on how closely they stick to the games. And anybody who's played the games, I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. It's going to be interesting to see which route they choose to go. But The Last of Us Season 2, we will be diving into right here on the channel starting April 13th. So right now is the perfect time to catch up on Last of Us Season 1. And of course, we'll probably be doing some more From and some more Severance content for the foreseeable future as well. But until next time, stay safe out there, Sevies. Keep those tinfoil hats on, and we will see you on the next one.